Talking about
talking about
movies.
movies.
Live on the internet, talking about movies. Can you believe it? What a time to be alive.
I sure can't. As Buck Rogers, or no, not Buck Rogers, Buckaroo Banzai once said, no matter where you're going, there you are.
True. Wise words
Wise words from Jeff Goldblum playing a
from Roy
guitar.
Rogers.
Yeah, from Frodo Baggins.
Hello, fine people in the chat. Join us today. We're going to talk about some bad movies
Well,
instead
I
of
mean,
anything more.
one bad movie and one
Yeah,
like it's okay.
one okay movie and one very bad movie. I don't know that anyone here really expected us to talk about Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. That's actually what it's called. But here we are. Because we
Yeah,
both watched this film and we decided, you know what? Instead of it being a complete waste of time, we're going to talk about it live on the internet, talking about movies. Isn't that
yes.
incredible?
And well, and we
He
both
was
saw.
already. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, we both saw the first Ready or Not. We both enjoyed it enough, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed it enough at the time. I watched it again last night or the night before, and I was like, you know what? It's a very once you get past the very stupid premise, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. It came out in a wave, a glut, if you will, of what you might call quote unquote eat the rich movies, uh, rich people bad movies. There
Yes.
were many at the time, 2019. This
It's
was
one of the
probably
f-
the
the least egregious ones, I would say.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
just because it's so ridiculous.
yeah.
It's just so absurd and ridiculous that it's like, you know what? This is your movie. It's there's some fun stuff in it. I liked Samara Weaving's performance in the first movie. Just put
Oh,
that
she's
in the
having in
first
in
movie.
the first movie. We're going to be saying that a lot. I liked
Yeah,
the setup and the
she was.
premise
I was like,
in the
she
first
was
movie.
like, yeah, she's a bit of a revelation. I was like, oh, she's good, and then she's got a great scream. They're really putting her character through the ringer physically, and I think that's fun. You know, and I love the way the first movie shot. But 2019 was an odd year because in the like steady downfall, it, downgrade in quality of films in general, 2019 was a weird like outlier year that actually had quite a few pretty good movies. This one, kind of middle of the road, okay, fun for what it is, kind of movie. Not amazing, not incredible,
Not
but
amazing, but good enough to be, I think, by all measures, a pretty rousing success, right? Like, let me get the exact numbers here for you, but it made quite a bit of money off of the of relatively small budget. Um,
what was the budget? Like 6 million,
yeah,
something like
budget
that.
was 6 million, and I'm pretty sure it made close to 60 million at the box office. Yeah, 6 million budget, box office 57.6.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like I mean,
So what here's
not
what's
bad.
most remarkable about that is that they waited 7 years to make a sequel.
Yeah,
Why?
I
Why?
why all of a sudden make a sequel
Why now?
now? Like
To Ready
you had
or
the
Not.
momentum after the first one, and
Sure.
what
I
did
mean,
they
maybe
burn it on?
COVID disrupts
Abigail?
that.
Like it,
Oh, yeah, probably,
I think it's
honestly.
the same directors. Oh, and they
Oh,
did
is it really?
Scream. Yeah, they did Scream 6 also. So they
Oh, who
burned
could forget Scream 6?
yeah, they burned a little bit of their momentum. Oh shit, no, they burned their momentum on Scream 2022, the one that's just called Scream. And
Is
then
that 5?
I think so, cuz then in 2023 they made Scream 6, and then in 2024 they made Abigail, and then after that well had run dry, here they come again. Ready or Not, here they come in 2026, with Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. Um,
Um, it's a little strange, and for reasons that we'll get into, it's especially funny that they waited 7 years before trying to make a sequel to Ready or Not, because it picks up
yeah, it's a weird choice.
immediately after the events of the previous film, but the main actress has aged 7 years, and you can tell, and so that's kind of funny. Um,
I didn't watch I did not even rewatch Ready or Not in preparation for this stream. I just went to see this in the theater immediately, and I was like, "Oh, something looks off." You know, like there's something's not quite right here. Why are we doing Yes, of all the things that we could be doing, like you don't even want to do one where she's, coming out of retire. She's chopping wood in a cabin in the woods, and somebody comes up and says, "We need you, Samara."
Well, yeah, I think the theme of this stream will be um, baffling decisions to make. Like they made a whole bunch of incredibly strange, often very funny, often very cringe decisions in how to make a sequel to Ready or Not, a movie that was unbelievably simple and straightforward. Um, how they messed it up so severely is actually quite remarkable, and we're going to talk all about it. First, someone in the chat asked, "Is that Cassie from Quantumania?"
Why,
Yes, it is.
yes, it is. She's
Um,
also a character in Abigail, so she has a working relationship with these directors, which kind of
sure.
explains why she's here, because
And she's in
God
so
knows
much
this.
of the movie.
God knows the story doesn't need her to be here at
No.
all.
Okay, so the first baffling decision is that they gave her an annoying sister. Why?
Yeah. Why?
Why?
Well, to begin, we should summarize the events of the first movie quickly, because
Yeah.
it is a brief. It won't take
It's
long,
very simple. It's a
right?
very simple, straightforward, schlocky, stupid movie.
Yeah. Samara Weaving is
Hugo Weaving's daughter,
Hugo
in case
Weaving's
you didn't
daughter.
put that
Yes,
together, yes.
is a hot, young hot chick marrying into with no family, as she says. She is, like completely alone in the world, marrying into the family of what are essentially the Parker brothers, who invented Monopoly, or not invented Monopoly, who, made popular Monopoly and other board games. Right? She's marrying into this family, and as it turns out, this family, in order to be as good as they are at inventing and succeeding at marketing board games, have made a deal with the devil. And this deal requires that anytime somebody gets married, they all sit down to have family game night. And if anybody draws the hide and seek card, it essentially turns into the most dangerous game, where the
They
young
literally have to hunt
they
and
have
kill her. If they have to kill her before the sun rises the next morning. If they fail to do so, they all blow up.
yes.
So there's a few things
And
to
they
because
are not aware of all blowing up. They do not
no,
know
yes.
that anything, like, they just are kind of going along with it because they think, like, and the movie does play on this idea that maybe you could just not, right? Like, maybe you could just not do it. You don't have to kill this
So to
person.
be clear, and this is what actually works quite well about the first movie. They're a rich, weird, eccentric family who owes all their success to a deal with the devil that their ancestor made, and they made their fortune through board games. So they have this tradition, right? But they draw a card every time a new person enters the family. Oftentimes they just play a normal game, right? But everyone is aware, broadly speaking. Some people have experienced it before, but most of the younger people haven't, like Adam Brody's character, for example, um, that there's a bad card, right? And the bad card is hide and seek, and that turns into the most dangerous game. So everyone kind of hopes that maybe they'll just draw a normal, benign card and everything will be fine. And then when they draw the bad card, they're like, oh shit, I guess we have to do it. Why? Because there is a rumor that or we're told that something awful will happen to us if we don't kill her by sunrise. But the different generations in the family have different relationships to this weird tradition. Some of them think they shouldn't do it anymore and that it's awful. Some of them are kind of begrudgingly doing it because they just don't want something bad to happen to them. Others question whether something bad will even happen. And then there's one older lady who's like the total zealot for this, tradition and
Yes.
everything like that. So you got an interesting dynamic there where they're like, convinced that something bad will happen if they don't. So they're almost doing it begrudgingly,
Yeah.
which makes it kind of funny. And they're often sort of incompetent, which works actually in the first movie because they're not like the overlords of the entire world. They're
Yeah,
just
why
a
would they be?
random
They're
rich
just a
family.
random rich family who
Yes.
invented some board games.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So and so like for example, there's a guy who like he gets assigned a crossbow as his weapon, but he like he does not know how to use it, and so there's a shot of him in the bathroom like googling a video on YouTube of like some like hicks who made a YouTube video explaining how to use a crossbow. So there's some fun gags and stuff like that. There's one like cokehead in-law who is just horribly incompetent and keeps killing the maids on accident.
Yeah.
There's some fun stuff to be had in there, but it's a much more interesting dynamic because they're not really sure whether they still believe in this whole curse thing, but they're kind of going along with it for fear of their own,
Yeah.
that the pact made by one of their ancestors, that they're sort of forced to continue through the generations, whether that's even real or whether they can escape it, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And she goes through her own little hero's journey here of becoming, the champion who will bring this down by surviving the attempts. And, like, she goes through some, yeah, they brutalize the shit out of her in this movie. Like, the directors really have some fun putting her into some gross and some nice body horror kinds of
Yeah,
situations.
one of the kids pulls up a gun and shoots her through the hand, and so she just has a massive hole in her hand for the rest of the movie. And in the context of the first movie, where the whole scope is just one night, and then she's rescued by police and
Well, yeah,
EMS
well,
people,
yeah,
like it's more believable. The wounds she suffers.
yes. Um, yeah, and so basically what ends up happening by the end of it is she survives, and everybody is kind of just waiting to see what happens. Yeah, like she ends up surviving until sunrise, and everybody holds their breath. They're like, oh, hey, maybe actually it's not that big of a deal, and then they just all start exploding.
Yeah, like a
And it
big like gushers,
like
just
like
blood and
fruit
guts
gushers,
everywhere.
like fruit gushers. They explode into just nasty piles of viscera. They splatter her wedding dress. She turns, like a dark crimson red, and the house sets on fire. She sees an image of the devil just kind of nodding to her as the fires consume the mansion, and she walks outside, smokes a cigarette on the steps, and when the cops come and ask her, what happened here, she gives them the in-laws, and then the movie ends, and it's perfectly serviceable. It's a
Yeah,
perfectly
it's a
serviceable
perfect.
little movie.
Yeah, nothing really all that special. There's some fun blood and guts. It's really goofy. Like, obviously it has a sort of like anti-rich sentiment, as many movies of the time and still today still do, but it's just so ridiculous that it's hard to really like get annoyed at any like you don't really take any of the social commentary seriously. It's just kind of like, yeah, whatever, we're having fun. Like the rich people, there's a spectrum of them, like how into this they are and like, how
One of them
competent they
saves
are.
her, and
Yeah,
it's not the one
exactly.
you would expect. Her husband betrays her, but her brother-in-law um is like, I don't care. Even if this is real, I don't want to be a part of it anymore. I'm tired of my soul having been sold by somebody, by 3 generations past, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to live like this anymore. Right? I don't care. So I'm going to help you because yeah, like, so there's that dynamic at play. There's a lot more
Sure.
comedy. The characters are much
It's a
more
lot more comedy.
fleshed out. Um
To the degree that they would be fleshed out in a kind of silly over the top movie like
yeah.
this.
Yeah, well,
They're
like
they're
they have their weird quirks, and like like you said, there's the guy I had forgotten about the guy who is so just like kind of jumpy and trigger happy, so he keeps killing the maids by accident. Like that's funny.
yeah.
That's a funny little bit. Um, we're not gonna get any of that
No,
in the
there are some
sequel,
attempts
actually.
at jokes in this for sure.
There's like maybe 1 or 2 funny bits that feel very much as if they were leftover relics of like an earlier draft of the first
Yeah.
script that they kind of just piecemealed back into this one because they needed some ideas, and then everything else is just, it falls very flat. um
Here's what's interesting about this movie, because Ready or Not is more horror than comedy, but it's got a bit of both, right? There's
yeah.
some funny stuff that happens, like some legitimately humorous moments, right? Um, then they go on to make the next Scream movie, and I didn't watch it. I didn't watch Scream 5 or Scream 6 or any of those, but every time I would see a trailer for one when they came out, I was like, wait, I thought Scream was supposed to be funny. I've only seen the first movie, but the first movie is very funny. It's a
Yeah.
satire, like, but every other thing I've seen, every other trailer from later Scream movies, I'm like, but wait, I thought this was supposed to be fun, like, and humorous and satirical. Where is that? You would think that the Ready or Not guys would actually be reasonable picks for the next Scream movie because they would
Yeah.
make it fun. But has anyone in the chat watched Scream 5? Is it actually funny? Because it didn't look
Well,
funny.
the ironic thing about Scream, right, is that the first one is a parody of slasher movies where, like, the two kids have kind of warped their own sense of reality by watching too many slasher movies, right? And
Yeah,
then everything else after that has just devolved into like a shitty slasher movie. It's they've all devolved into the exact kind of movie that Scream was parodying originally. And so
yeah.
you've got that's already a problem built into the way the franchise has gone. But
Really quick to jump in. For example, for what it's worth on IMDb, they have genre tags for movies, right? Ready or Not, these are the genre tags. Dark comedy, true. Splatter horror, true. Action, comedy, horror, mystery, yes, those are all true and fair. Scream, I think 5, the one that's just called Scream. Slasher horror, suspense mystery, whodunit, horror, mystery, thriller, nothing at all about
nothing
comedy.
at mm. Yeah, and the new one, the trailer for the new one, the Scream 7, that looked like absolute dog shit too. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I just I don't know. It seems to me from the outside that Scream lost the only major thing that made it remarkable, which was the humor and satirical component. And you would think hiring the guys who did Ready or Not would actually be a good way to infuse that back into Scream, but apparently that just didn't happen.
yeah. So Topaz dude, like, I feel like we get this movie released every other month these days. Yeah, I think you're right
Yeah,
about
there's a
that. Like,
lot.
yeah, there's a lot of movies like
Like,
this, and like I
hmm
think that was the thing about Ready or Not that I found so charming in 2019 was that it was one of the few of this sort of slew of this type of movie that kind of managed, maybe even despite itself a little bit, but kind of managed to be better than the rest. It
just rose
managed,
above the heap
yeah,
slightly
yeah.
enough.
It managed to claw its way above the pile of corpses in the well, in the barn, you might
The
say.
goat pit.
Yeah, the goat
Yeah,
pit
yeah.
in the barn. You could certainly say that. Now, this one just feels like like the one that releases every other month, yeah, or every
Yeah.
month. Yeah.
But still, there are a number of unique decisions being made in this movie. Not good ones, but unique ones that do make it stand out from the rest of this kind of slop. Some that are absolutely hysterical that I can't wait to talk about. So, decision number one.
Much like making Snape black, the gift that keeps on giving.
Yes, yes, there is one particular decision in this movie that is kind of on par with making Snape black for the implications. Quite funny. But the first decision is okay. We're 7 years on. It's been 7 years since the last movie. How do we continue this story? Because if you watch Ready or Not, it's just like no, that story is
That's
over.
over. Yeah,
It's over.
it's
You
over.
could
And
do another thing. You could call it Ready or Not to Here I Come with a completely different set of characters in a similar type of movie. Like that, if you wanted this to be a franchise, Ready or Not is a perfectly fine, like generic title that could apply to like an anthology of different Most Dangerous Game type movies.
yeah, well,
But they decide they want to continue the story with this character, which is basically over. But it does have some interesting implications because for those keeping track, she finds out at the end of Ready or Not that you can make a pact with the devil that is real and has supernatural consequences. Right? So
yeah,
basically, that you'd think that having an effect on a person who seems otherwise in the movie. It's not really made clear what her religious views are, but just generically secular modern person comes to realize that the devil is real and that cults can make pacts with him that cause them to randomly combust into big bags of bloody goo. Um, you know, you'd think that would have an effect on her as a
You would,
person.
yeah, you might. Now, and one of the things that I like, I've spoken about this before, in particular, like in relation to John Wick, right? The first is where the
Yes.
first movie felt like we almost had. So, and I know that these at the time were not particularly successful, but they have certainly come to influence movies in like as we've gone, further down the line. But John Carpenter's, for lack of a better term, because I know there are a few more than this, but his Kurt Russell trilogy, right? What I'm going to call this: Escape from New York, The Thing, and Big Trouble in Little China. I know that they, like, as a producer, if you hear those names, you're probably not thinking like, oh wow, big financial success. However, those three had this, like, there's something very charming to me about the idea of a director actor collaboration that doesn't just franchise a film, that just kind of goes like, okay, in this one, we're gonna have Kurt in an eye patch being a grizzled, grizzly stoic man fighting, a group of weird punk rockers, right? And in this one, he's gonna
Yeah.
be a research scientist in Antarctica fighting an alien. And in this one, he's going to be a bumbling goofball with a heart of gold who happens to save the day from David Lopan, the Chinese man, right? I love this idea of doing
Yeah.
these, like, you take your success and leverage it into building something like that. So when John Wick 1 came out and it had the level of success that it did, I I fooled myself into thinking that we might have an opportunity here to do something like that for Keanu, right? Where we've, like, now we've had him as the grizzled assassin man who is, you know, able to kill somebody with a pencil. We've done that pretty well, right? That's fun. Now let's take it and do something different. Like, let's put Keanu in something more akin to the Fall Guy, right? Let's do something like that, where he's a bumbling goofball who saves the day in spite of himself. Or we take him and do something like, we have an opportunity to do something like this and kind of create a string and a trend of directors making unique, original things, like that continue to see success, right? And instead, what we do is we just franchise the hell out of it and turn it into a clown movie, so that now we have John Wick 4, where, like, everything is, he's literally fucking bulletproof, and it's practically a superhuman thing. So we've run that into the ground. And this one almost felt like we had that opportunity again. Like
Yeah, because I think Samara Weaving is quite a talented actress, especially in this kind of horror movie. She's got, first of all, she has a great scream. She could be a new scream queen kind of thing. That's the impression I got after watching the first movie. Like, yeah, that was a perfectly okay movie. I want to see you do more stuff like this,
yeah, do more. Well,
specifically her.
like, if you were gonna do something like, for yeah, take Samara Weaving, who has, like, from the first movie, clearly proven that she's got the makings of, like, some kind of archetype, some kind of character star that you can
Yeah.
do, and make other movies similar to or adjacent to this, but not continuing this, right? Leverage that
Yes.
success into getting other scripts that you want produced. Not just Don't just jump ship and go make Scream 5 and then Abigail, right? Like, stick
Yeah.
with what's
Well,
working for you. You've got the groove. You're hitting your
yeah.
momentum. And then to see them do essentially John Wick 2 with this version is just
Yeah.
like, yet again, we've taken a nosedive and ruined the
We had a
potential for
really
that. We had
unique
Yeah.
opportunity. Yes, I totally agree. We had a unique opportunity there, or they did, and they didn't take advantage of it. And now, 7 years later, they're like, "Oh, what if we did another one?" And so now she's back in a leading role, doing the same thing but worse.
Yeah.
That's just terrible for her career. And it's like, and you can tell she's trying, but her heart's not in this movie. You
No.
can tell. Her
No.
her heart was in the first movie. She was really giving it her all, and it was really working. In this, it's like, oh, okay, it's the same thing, but worse. Like she still has the good yell, the good scream, but like other than that, I don't know, I can just feel that her heart's not in it. So that was a mistake in the first place, is to a, wait 7 years if you're going to do a sequel, direct sequel with the same characters to this movie. B, that you wouldn't try to do another kind of similar movie or similar, genre, but a different premise with her. And then the next big decision that was made that's baffling is we're like, okay, it's 7 years later, but it's going to pick up immediately where where the first one left off, because that's what this movie does. Like we redo the end sequence from the first movie now with her
Yep.
7 years later, and like I said, you can tell the 7 years have passed, and immediately it's like, okay, how do we contrive a ridiculous way of doing the same thing again? And so what they decide is, well, you remember that family from the first movie? Actually, they're part of a like six family like mafia style cabal that runs the world,
To run
actually.
yes, the entire world. I would also like to apologize briefly to everyone in the chat. There is some construction going on at my house that I was not aware was going to happen today. So you may
At
hear
your
some,
house? In your house?
yeah, in my house, literally.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
loud.
yeah. I'm gonna try to get the threshold. I'm gonna
I
try to
don't know if
close the
I
threshold
don't
a
know if
little
you
bit,
can
but
use
I
a
don't know.
noise
Yeah,
gate to get rid of that one.
we'll see.
Um, oh Lord, you might have to just do push to talk in
Yeah.
that case.
Uh, that
Well,
would
you
be
can't do push to talk because you're going directly into OBS.
yeah. So I.
That's a disaster.
That is
Um,
this is the worst thing to happen to America ever, I think, in the history of
yes.
America. The worst disaster. Um, I will do my best to
Um,
avoid all of that for you, but I apologize for this in advance, chat. Yeah, I did not
I
live my
don't.
life one
That's
quarter
not.
mile at a time.
I don't think that's going to be workable. If I'm being honest,
Yeah,
I don't want to subject the fine people at home to that.
let me see if I can do anything about that. Give me
Okay.
1 second. You talk a little bit about.
Make sure you actually mute yourself in OBS while you go do that,
I will
not
be.
just in
Yes,
Discord.
I will. Yeah, I gotcha. All right.
Let me just enable the filter out the nail gun option. Stream ruined. Yeah, 0 out of 10. Okay, so Hugh's gonna go figure out whether that's something we can stop. Um, if it isn't, well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, while we're chatting, how you guys doing? I just saw Topaz dude earlier say that yeah, this is very much like a sort of 6 out of 10 at best kind of movie. That is the first one. That there are many better variations on this kind of premise, but the first one was perfectly all right, and the second one is like the John Wick 2 of this kind of franchise. We're like, let's do it again, but worse. And what I was saying before we were rudely interrupted by the construction was that this movie has decided to make that random family that was just rich from board games now one of six families that runs the world, like a shadowy cabal of elites. And I want to save it for when Hugh gets back. But for example, there's a Chinese family, there is an Indian family. Yeah, you heard that right. One of the six families that runs the world is Indian. We're going with that for this movie. There is a Spanish family, and there is another, I guess we'll just call them generic white family. Um, Canadian, American, not really sure. That is Sarah Michelle Gellar and David Cronenberg's family because they're in this movie. I thought going into it that I would be happy about seeing Sarah Michelle Gellar in a movie because I'm a big Buffy fan. He was a Buffy fan as well, and I thought she was quite good in Buffy. Um, but man, she's not good in this movie, and she looks rough. the, the years have not been kind to Sarah Michelle Gellar. It's unfortunate. Also, her character is unbelievably cringe and annoying, so that doesn't help. I
That's
can
not coming.
hear that the answer is no. Do you know when they're going to be done doing that? Really quick, as your GM says, doing okay. Is there a way to announce streams a little further in advance? This is sometimes nap time for me. Um, you know what? Usually I do try to do more advance on Twitter. I didn't really get this out until like half an hour before this time, so my apologies if we've interrupted your nap time. I'm sure the banging on Hugh's end of the audio is certainly, you know, it will help lull you to sleep to make up for it. Do, 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 do. They're not even fixing anything. They just be banging on shit. Yeah, that's how it feels. That's how it feels. Um, yes. So when I was describing this premise that now that there's a secret cabal of families that literally run the world, we'll elaborate on that in a bit. But Elijah Wood literally says that they run the world, right? Um, one of the families is Indian, one's Chinese, one's Spanish, one's white. And I was telling my girlfriend this, and she's like, "Oh, there's no black families." It's like, yeah, no, no, there's no black
Of
families.
course not. But one
Sorry.
of the Indians. I gonna be a while. They were like,
Hmm.
oh, why don't you just go downstairs? And like, oh, underneath where it's happening? Yeah, that'll help. Sure. Yeah, I did not taking place today. Bit of a
Hmm.
yeah.
Well,
Um,
um, well, I don't hear any right now, but I feel like it's gonna come
I
back
feel
any
like it's gonna
second.
come back any second, honestly.
Well, that's not great.
Yeah.
That's less than ideal. Um, well,
I can keep
until
muting myself, but I don't think I'll be muted most of the time, I feel like, if I do that.
why don't you just go to your vacation home and stream from there? Says Emperor Goodwin. Good
That's a
question.
great
You.
question, man. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
You know what? As someone says it seriously though, it's not too distracting. Maybe I'm just a sensitive little baby, but it's very distracting for me. I don't know. I don't know how you guys would be able to handle it.
Um,
Um,
yeah,
Q,
look,
what's your evening looking like?
at the moment, it's relatively free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hmm.
Now, okay, before we decide on whether or not to postpone, I do want to answer a couple of questions, especially from Ted from accounting. How were board games important to world domination? Just because I don't want your effort to go to waste, I'm going to put the background trailer up there for you. Find people in the chat. Yes, that's a great question, though. How were board games important to world domination? So, one of the central flaws of this second movie is taking the quirky rich family who are essentially just evil Parker brothers and essentially making them essential parts of the new world order somehow. Like they had
Or the old
all, or the
world
old world
order
order,
for that
they
matter.
had all the power. Them and six other families control everything that happens in on planet Earth, to the point where David Cronenberg can cause a ceasefire between Palestine and Israel with a single phone call that happens immediately.
Okay, this needs to be elaborated on because it's probably the funniest thing, maybe the second funniest thing in the whole movie. So when we're establishing the shadowy cabal of rich families that run the world in this film, David Cronenberg, who is the current like head of the families, I suppose you could say, he is watching the news. I was watching CNN or whatever, and there's news reports about Israel and Palestine going at it. He picks up a phone. He says, "Call a ceasefire." and then literally within seconds, the chyron on CNN changes to ceasefire,
Yes.
like agreed to.
Wait, didn't it say something like ongoing conflict, no end in sight? As
Yes, something absolutely absurd like that. So that's very, very
that's
funny.
the kind of power that this council holds, and this family from the first one used it to hold a monopoly on monopoly, essentially.
Essentially to do nothing with it. Yeah. So that's pretty funny by implication. So now that joke about being able to call a ceasefire, like to bring peace to the Middle East just with a simple phone call, like that's pretty funny, I think, if you're trying to satirize a sort of like average retarded layperson's understanding of what the rich are like, you know? So you might think, oh, is this movie actually secretly brilliant? No. Um, it's not entirely clear to me that they realize how funny that is.
No, no, no,
I
no. They
they,
definitely do not
I mean, I think
realize.
they realize that it's kind of funny, you know, that there's a humorous aspect to it, but I do legitimately think there is an impulse here, like an actual attitude that regards rich people like, ah, they could bring peace and fix world hunger in an instant if they really wanted to, but they don't because they're evil and mean. Like that's I do think the movie kind of actually believes that.
Oh yeah,
It's not just a silly joke.
yeah. No, I think that's one of the things about it that I find it, it's a much more shallow rendition. Funnily enough, because it's not like the first one was deep, right? It's not like the first one
No.
did a really good job at trying to understand the lives that people in these positions have, or that's like a group who made a bargain with the devil to get all this power would have, right? It didn't
Yeah.
make an enormous effort. It kind of used it like as the way to as the vehicle to drive a schlocky little premise of a movie, right?
Yeah.
This one all feels more cartoonish than that, which is
Oh, for certain it
crazy
does.
because the
Yeah.
last one was a cartoon, right?
Yeah, the last one was a cartoon, but in this one, literally David Cronenberg's like, "Shut it down, no more war in the Middle East." Why? Because I said so. I had enough. I was watching the news. I said, "You know what? This is getting a little crazy. Let's shut it down immediately." So, I mean, I laughed pretty hard at that, but I not entirely, I don't think, for the reasons that the movie expected me to. Um, but that's what we're dealing with in this movie. If the last one was a cartoon, where I think the most you could say in terms of like a meaningful exploration of, you know, the lives of rich people who did bad things to attain their power and wealth, is that you have a sort of range of opinions about it within the family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just good writing in general because it makes it more dynamic, but not really much you can say about it. In this movie, like we said, now we're dealing with Satanists. Satanists literally run the world. Now, here's we get to baffling decision number, I don't know what number we're on. Let's call it number 5. Um baffling decision number 5 is that this time around the shadowy evil elite are way more diverse, ethnically diverse, nationally diverse, which is very funny. So in the
Yes,
first movie, that original family, they're wasps for all intents and purposes, right? It's not really made clear, but they're white and they sort of, you know,
they're a
coded
little
like
waspy.
wasps.
Yeah, they're waspy.
Yeah, they're wasp adjacent. In this movie, I think there are competing impulses that create some pretty hilarious results in this movie. Number one is like, oh, well, we should have a more diverse cast this time around because that's good and inclusive. But then the other competing impulse is that we want to make the rich people even more cartoonish and evil. And so the resulting admixture is that the rich are more ethnically diverse in this movie, and they're so much stupider and more evil, which is funny. Funny
There's a deep
by
irony at
implication.
work there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, again, like
Yes,
it
yeah,
funnily
but
like
Kyle
making
makes a good point because they are still trying. I think there is also an instinct to try and play it safe because there are no blacks or Jews in
well,
this
I mean, can
diverse
you
group.
imagine if they
I
decided like, oh
know.
yeah, we're gonna put a Jew in charge of the world, like pulling the shadow in charge of the shadowy cabal that pulls all the strings behind the scenes.
Yeah, the Chinese, that's kind of a safe that,
China.
I think.
She's yeah. Well, like, and is she like? What is she? Is she Chinese? She's Chinese, right? But she fights with a
He's like
samurai
Chinese
sword.
American or Chinese Canadian or something like that. Because, okay, so this movie was shot in Canada. A lot of the actors are Canadian. The directors and writers are American. But David Cronenberg's in it, which means they filmed it in Canada. I don't think he ever leaves Canada, frankly.
Yeah.
Um, if he's involved in a movie, it's probably because they shot it in Canada. So, like the Indians in this movie are like Indian Canadian, and the or Indian American, whichever it is, it's not really specified. And same with the Chinese family for all intents and purposes, right? Because they don't speak like in sort of thick accents. The only one who speaks with sort of a thick accent is the guy from Spain. So
Yes.
that's
The
another.
swarthy Latin that we have.
We'll call that a safe choice. Yes, so they decided not to go with juice. For shame, that could have been funny. And also no blacks, which is it's just by implication of trying to play it safe. They're like, yeah, no, the blacks don't get to run the world at all. The Indians do, but sorry, sorry, no blacks.
You could have done a
Um,
double whammy like Archer, yeah, back in season 1 and introduce a black Jew. Like
yeah,
that would
there
have
you
been
go.
hilarious.
Cover
Then
an
you get great
Ethiopian Jew.
jokes. Yeah, you get great jokes from that too. Like beautiful. But
Yeah. Yeah, so but so clearly they are trying to play it safe to a degree, but they sort of mistakenly think they can make a more diverse cast and also play it safe at the same time. Because by implication, there are some very, very funny things that happen that are not very kind to the Indians, which I find hysterical. And I can't wait to talk about them. I'm tempted to talk about it right now, just in case we have to cut the stream short, because but I haven't heard any banging in a while, knock on wood. But
yeah,
you know what? Let's just talk about
he's
it
I
now
think he's
because it's
sanding at the
funny.
moment. And real quick, I want to respond to somebody in the chat because I said she's Chinese something and fights with a samurai sword, and somebody said Oren Ishii from Kill Bill was Chinese and fought with a samurai sword. Now, there's a little bit of a difference in that. First of all, Kill Bill's a good movie. That's one of the big differences. But the other difference, right, is that she's Chinese, but she becomes the head of the Tokyo Yakuza. This one is just Chinese fighting, and like the reason that she fights with the samurai sword is because part of the deal in this movie is that they have to use a weapon from the time period when their ancestor made the pact with the devil, right? So what they're saying is this Chinese person is using a samurai sword because that's vaguely Asian in that time period from when her ancestor made the pact with the devil. They don't really go into the explanation of how
Yeah.
these cultures have collided, which, you know, if they did something like an Oren Ishii backstory where she is Chinese but she's in Japan and so she's fighting with a samurai sword, like that's fine, right? Like you don't need much. But what it is instead is just sort of like a Pan-Asianism type thing for no reason except to have a samurai sword in the movie. And that's really where the flaw
Yes.
is, right? Because like it does, there's nothing cool that happens with it either,
No.
and it's you know, I don't mind doing it. I'm just like, if you're gonna do it, give me a little motivation. Do something
Yeah.
fun with it at least, you know, justify
Sure.
it a little. They don't even try. They just throw it in there like eh. It's
Yeah.
a
That's
so
the extent of what we do with the Chinese family in general. Nothing particularly interesting, but I do want to talk about the Indian family. So, all you really need to understand before we jump ahead, we're going to jump around a little bit, but it's basically now a shadowy cabal of families are like, uh-oh, weird rule in our bylaws means if you win the previous game and kill, uh, by result, the other family, now there is like a power vacuum that needs to be filled. And so we need to play a game in order to decide who is going to be the head family, right? And so the game is the same game as before because this is a sequel. And so it's the most dangerous game, hide and seek again. But this time, Samara Weaving, I think her name is Grace. If you win, you become the head of the world. You get to run the world if you win, and then obviously if Sarah Michelle Gellar and the Indians or whatever, if any of them win, then their family
and what
like
triggered it? What triggered the clause, the bylaw? She survived the first game. So
Yeah.
because like nobody has ever done that before, they basically decide they're like, oh yeah, nobody's ever done that before. So like there's a bylaw that if anybody does, then they get a chance to do it a second time to become the head of the shadow cabal that rules the governments of the world.
Yes.
W- uh,
So
Sure.
yeah, so
Why not?
that's the premise, and we'll come back to things, but I really do want to jump ahead in case we have to end the stream short for construction reasons. I want to jump ahead to the Indian stuff because it's very funny. So they don't play a huge role in the movie, but when the game is afoot, everyone's running around trying to find Samara Weaving and her sister, because the sister is there because. There's one point where the Indian guy, because okay, so for each family, there's one person who's competing at a time, and then there's other people watching from a control room. And if their person dies, then they get tagged in essentially.
Yeah.
So there's one Indian guy who's wearing kind of like a maroon suit and a
Yeah,
mask,
the one who
and
doesn't
they're
speak really.
yeah, they're in a sort of like industrial, like servants laundromat where they have like giant industrial size washing machines and dryers and all that sort of stuff. And they're hiding, and this guy's looking for him, and then they get the jump on him. They get a jump on the Indian guy, and then two tiny, tiny white women immediately overpower the big Indian guy and force him into a giant industrial washing machine.
Which
Close
eventually
the door.
essentially amounts to a bathtub, if you think
Yes.
about it.
If you think about it, yes. And then they close the door, and then right as Samara Weaving is about to throw the switch and turn it on, she says, "Bath time," and then throws the switch and turns the giant
As the
washing
Indian
machine
man
on. And
screams
then
in agony.
yeah, as he is washed to death. Um, that's really fucking funny.
That's really funny. That's really really funny. Much in the
Yeah.
same way as like as making Snape black has made just breathed new life into the Harry Potter books, right? Like the fact that now Harry spends the entire first year that he's at school telling anybody who will listen that the only black teacher in the school is going to steal. It's the same sort of unintentional result of diversity hires. And I
Yeah.
find
So
that
okay,
beautiful. I
here's
think the
a
world is
couple things
clearly
about it.
healing.
Washing an Indian man to death, very funny.
Very
Yelling
funny.
bath time right before you do it, very funny. The fact that he's easily overpowered by two tiny little white women, very funny. So here's the thing, right? Obviously this is an unintentional result of diversifying the villains in the movie, right? Interestingly, they don't diversify the heroines, which is interesting. But uh here's the thing, right? If you're going to do this, you kind of, I think, to not make this kind of mistake, you do need to at least be aware of racist stereotypes. You know, like if I were gonna give, if there's a liberal watching right now, right, who
Whose
wants to
ambition
avoid
is
making
trying.
this kind of mistake, they want more diversity in their movies, but they don't want to run into this sort of scenario. You do need to familiarize yourself with the racist stereotypes so you don't run headfirst into them. Just I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Just like, you need to it's like a vaccine. You need to ingest a little bit of the racism.
Yes, you've got
Yeah.
like, and you've got to have some foresight. Again, I'm going to return to the Harry Potter Snape example at the moment because the people who made that decision clearly don't remember the part in the third book where Snape demands that the Marauders map tell him, reveal its secrets to him, and the map tells him that he should, and I quote, keep his abnormally large nose out of other people's business. You probably should have thought of that before cast. It takes on a bit of a different bent when you've cast a black man in that role. You probably
Very
should
funny.
have been. It's very funny. Don't get me wrong. I think you're brilliant for doing it. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
It's funny because I was sort of like texting you about this movie as I was reacting to it. And I was like, why did they make one of the six families that runs the world Indian? That's insane. That's ridiculous. Yeah, right. Get real. And then when that scene happened, I was like, you know what? This is a brilliant move. I take it all back. Washing him to death. Very funny. Huge fan.
Like,
A plus work.
what did they mean by that? Almost like when Sam Raimi in Spider-Man 3, like when Peter turns evil and then he immediately starts answering the phone by saying shalom. Like, what did he mean by this?
Yeah, pretty funny.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so I wanted to jump ahead to that. I guess the only other really funny thing that comes as a result of including an Indian family in this is that the other guy who is forced to be like tagged in now that his brother or
I
whatever,
think it's his brother. Yeah.
yeah, he dies, and he immediately pussies out and tries to put his wife in instead because he's a bitch.
Because he's a little
He's a
bitch.
coward. So that's kind of funny.
And then, yeah,
Uh,
okay, so and then all right, because we're gonna roll with this thread for a little bit, right? Because he tags his wife in instead. He signs over all of the assets granted to him by the devil to his wife in order to like escape his responsibility of having to play the game because he's afraid of the two little white women who made his brother shower. Um, and so he signs everything over to his wife, who then just drives out of the movie.
yeah,
Like,
he's just gone.
which is funny because like they've made it very clear that you're not really allowed to refuse to play, right? So like, what happened? It's strange because you get like we know the consequence now. The big shock of the spontaneous combustion of the people who fail to uphold their bargain is off the table. Like we watch it happen very early on in the movie because one of the actors who they pay, like one of the relatively famous character actors who they paid to be here, shows up for about 5 minutes only to explode in basically his first scene, right? So they've kind of burned that. Like if anybody breaks the rules, they explode.
Yeah,
She
and we know
drives out
this
of the
by now.
movie. We know this, and like not only does like they make it clear too. They're like, oh, not only will he explode, but everybody in the family, everyone will explode.
Yes.
So she drives out of the movie, but the character, like the rest of them, don't explode.
Not until the very end.
Well, yeah,
So I
until the
think
very end when they all explode, when everybody
y-
in the cult explodes, because
yes,
it's
and
not
I
a yeah.
think well, I think the logic is that like, she is not playing the game, but ultimately the consequences of that wouldn't happen until dawn. I think that's the logic of the movie. You know what I mean?
I
Because you
don't know,
could
because like, I
hesitate
don't know.
to.
Yeah, I guess you could. I don't know that. I don't know. Maybe. I guess
Also,
yeah.
isn't
I guess that makes sense.
because Emperor Goodwin mentioned spontaneous combustion, and they call it that in this movie, but I thought combustion was being set on fire.
Yeah, I did too. I think
I
this
don't
is
think
more
it
like
was
a
like literally
spontaneous
like
blood
bust as
bomb.
in you
Yeah.
burst.
It's a spontaneous busting, should we call it?
Oh, they should have called it. See, if this was a proper comedy, they could have said something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, combustion is it's fire. Like
Yeah.
you burn up. They call it that in the movie, but it's never corrected. I just don't think they know what that means.
Yeah, I think I think they just kind of rolled it cuz honestly, I don't think anybody involved in this movie really gave a fuck. If I'm being
No,
honest with you.
not really.
It doesn't
No, it
feel
doesn't.
like
No, it
Elijah
doesn't.
Wood is in this movie. Somebody else pointed that out and said that he's sad to see him on this cast. And yeah, because like I'd still like Elijah Wood. I like him in things. Not this. Like he's kind of phoning it in a little bit. He's
Yeah.
not really doing much. Um, like everybody sort of is like Samara Weaving's not. I mean, her heart's not in it, but she is kind of trying to imitate the
What
magic.
she did in the first movie. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
When she yells and screams, like she commits to it. But like emotionally, I don't feel like her heart is in the performance. It really was in that first movie because as ridiculous as the premise is, she has to react to it as if it's real and genuinely emote in the face of all this insane madness that's happening around her, and she does a pretty good job.
yeah,
In this movie, she does her scream when they tell her to scream, and she looks
And
scared sometimes.
even when it's not really helping anything, she does like at the end of certain lines for some reason, she's just screaming because she knows that was successful in the first movie, so I might as well try it again.
Yeah, yeah. And Elijah Wood, he's perfectly charming and he's good on camera, but he's not good in this, really.
Yeah.
Buffy is especially disappointing in this movie.
Oh, yeah, it's bad.
Bad.
It's
It's
very
bad.
bad.
It's not good.
And
I'm not happy about seeing her on screen, which is
no.
what I thought I would enjoy about this movie, if nothing else. But apparently not. I think
Y-
it's over for
Yeah,
her. I'm
I
so
think she's
glad that
cooked.
that Buffy reboot is not happening. I hope it never happens.
Uh, is it not?
Well, it's not happening. It was canceled.
Oh, was it?
At
Oh,
least
that original Buffy reboot. I thought I heard about something like plans for another one.
I'm sure they will try again, but for now, we have like a stay of execution, if you will.
Oh, okay, yeah. Wait, March 16th this year. Um, the Buffy reboot is dead, and Sarah Michelle Gellar herself said nobody saw this coming. Um,
It's dead for now, at least. So the
yeah,
basic story
let's keep it
there,
there.
as she tells it, is that there was a producer involved who just did not believe in the project fundamentally, and I guess like so that was they were unhappy about that, but they shot a pilot. And there have been leaks about what was in the pilot. It sounds bad. And then Hulu eventually decided, like, yeah, no, we're not gonna continue with this. We're not gonna pick it up. And so I think there's a chance, hypothetically, that some other streaming platform might be stupid enough to go like, we'll take it. If they don't want it, we'll take it. But I don't think so. I think it's dead for now, which is good because if you listen to Sarah Michelle Gellar talk about Buffy, she consistently gets things wrong about what worked and why the show was good. Many of the best episodes of Buffy were things that she objected to at the time, but reluctantly did anyway, and it made for some of the best episodes in the whole series. So she's not a good judge of what made Buffy good, and so she would be a bad influence on any potential Buffy show in the future.
Yeah, well, and with the lack of involvement from Joss Whedon, which that's
This is how I feel about any continuation of any of those shows, like Firefly as well. When they announced the Firefly animated thing that they're going to try to make, it's like, well, we got Joss Whedon's blessing. It's like, who cares? Who cares
what
about?
I'm hoping that means is that it's code for Joss is going to help us behind the scenes, but we're not going to put his name on it because we know that'll piss all of you little bitch babies off. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
that's
hoping.
optimistic.
Yeah,
It's optimistic. Well, so here, the basic way I look at it is this. I definitely, definitely, definitely don't want any continuations of any of these IPs if he's not involved.
yeah,
Full stop. If he is involved, I still don't really want it. You know, like even if he is involved, I'm like, really though, could we just do something new instead?
yeah. Yeah. I really would look. I'm okay with a little bit more Firefly, and especially if you're going to do an animated thing set between the movie and the show, I'm fine with that. I like that idea as long as Joss is involved in some way. Because and the thing that gives me the hope about it, right, is that Nathan Fillion, even up until recently, I think even after all the shit went down with Joss, right, he has said like, yeah, nah, like I know that this is like that he's not popular right now, but I liked working with him and I would do it again in a heartbeat. And
Yeah,
good
good
for
for him.
him for standing by his friend,
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that's the main thing that gives me hope about it. And like most of those other actors from Firefly have done work with him on multiple projects, right?
Yeah,
So clearly those Firefly people liked what he was getting at and they liked his
yeah.
style of work,
'Cause
right?
most of them are cowards,
Yeah. Yeah.
fundamentally, and then there's a few of them who particularly don't like him for various reasons. But anyway, yeah, Buffy in this, Sarah Michelle Gellar in Ready or Not 2: Here I Come. Very disappointing to see. She looks rough. She acts rough. It's not good. Her character is monumentally retarded. Um, let's talk about her really quick.
Okay, yeah,
her
let's
sort of
talk about Sarah Michelle
her
Gellar's
little
character
arc.
and arc, right? Because the movie thinks that, like, I don't know what the movie thinks it's getting at with this. So, Sarah Michelle Gellar's character is one of the two white twins who are, like, fighting to keep the whites in control of the fate of the world, basically, right? So, in many ways, the heroes of the tale. Um, no, but they are together fight like they kill their father David Cronenberg as sort of like an underhanded way before the game begins. They kill him as sort of an underhanded way to make sure that he doesn't have to
Be the
participate
one who fights because he's
in.
too old and he would probably lose.
Yes. Um, they are very pragmatic about this, right? Very cold and calculating in this way. She, in particular, very cold and calculating about this. She's like, "Yeah, of course we killed our father. Like he was weak. It wouldn't have worked. We needed to do this." Um, we are going to see throughout most of the movie that both Sarah Michelle Gellar and her father have no problems physically abusing her brother. They beat him up a lot. They hit him when he says things they don't like or agree with. They
Yes.
all the time, multiple times in the movie, and she's going to do this even afterward. Now there's a point that arrives later where he is kicking Grace's sister to death. He's kicking Cassie from Quantumania to death because he saw the movie and he's not happy about it. And
Understandable, I would say.
yeah, me too. I wish I could have been there. Um,
Justice for Modoc. That's what I have to say about
yeah.
that.
Um, and Sarah Michelle Gellar comes up to him and says, "What are you doing? This isn't right. Don't do that." Because I guess she's okay with killing her quickly or with smothering her own father with a pillow, but beating this person to death is not cool. That's not kosher, right? So she tries to stop him and he turns around and punches her in the face as sort of a
More so
parallel.
in a like a, "Hey, man, I'm in this," in a
Yeah.
way that you would think any normal person would be like, "Sorry, I was kind of in the zone of beating someone to death, and you snuck up on me, so I
Yeah.
punched you in the face."
And
There's
but
no
the
real malice in it.
Yeah, and he kind of immediately pulls back after punching her, but the movie treats this as if it is the big turn, the big reveal that actually he's worse than she is because he punched a woman.
It's so bad.
It's a
It's
really
awful.
bad turn. It's a really bad turn. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Because then the movie tries to be like, actually, maybe she has a change of heart. And so, for reasons we'll get into, she'll eventually approach Samara Weaving's character and be like, "Hey, you know what? We need to work together to control my brother because he's a real psycho, you know?" And when she's giving this speech, my thought is like, "Oh, this is just a ruse because she's cold and calculating and evil, and this is just going to be a ruse to try and like get on the good side of Samara Weaving for reasons." But no,
No.
the movie's actual logic is the woman who had no problem with murdering her own father to make sure that their family can maintain power over the whole entire world, so they wouldn't lose this game. She has no problem murdering her father personally, like doing it herself, and constantly abusing her brother and calling him bad and all that sort of stuff. He accidentally punches her once, and she's like, "You know what? Maybe you're the
Maybe
real
he's the
monster."
real monster, and I've always known that there was a monster inside of him. That's why I beat him to keep it in check. I beat him to keep his inner monster in check, but now his inner monster is beating me back, and I think that that's a problem. And the movie
It's
agrees.
just this movie is so like messy and confused because it has like these very, very strong, obnoxious feminist impulses as well, but then like completely undermines them later. It's just a disaster. Like
Yeah.
thematically. It makes no sense. Like this would make so much more sense in the logic of this movie if this was like a ruse where she was just trying to trick Samara Weaving by pretending that like she's like, "You know what? We just need to protect the world from my brother because he's the real monster," and then it'll excuse me, ultimately ends up just being like a trick. That would make more sense. That would be
Yes.
more in keeping with everything else that happens in this movie. But yeah, you can't pull this card. I'm sorry, you can't.
No, you
You
don't.
did too
You do not
much
get
that
the
contradicts
pass.
it.
Yeah. Another problem and you can, this is a little bit of a divergence from what we were just talking about here, but another problem that I have with this one as compared to the first, right, is it's, especially with its cast, far more unwieldy, right?
Oh yeah.
So like all of the characters that we've introduced as like major players in the game, right? There's at least half of them that have nothing to do in the movie.
Yeah.
Like very little whatsoever. But for the most part, there's one guy who's standing around with like cocktails the whole time, who I have no idea why he's part of it. I don't get it.
Um,
Like
yeah, there's like a smaller like Spanish and or Filipino boy. I'm not really sure which.
I think he's supposed to be Spanish, but he definitely looks like the little Asian boy from Tropic Thunder a little bit. Like, or he gives me that
Like
vibe anyway.
yeah, yeah. He doesn't really have anything to do. The guy who is, the mayor in The Dark Knight, the guy who looks like he's wearing eyeliner constantly, but he isn't actually. He just looks like that. Um, he's a pretty good actor. I like him in things generally when he pops up. He has nothing to do in
Nothing to
this
do in this
movie.
movie. Well, okay,
He
so
is,
like somebody earlier asked, like, oh, okay, so if all the families who, maintain this control over, the entire global system, right, are aware that this it's like bylaw could potentially be triggered, right? And they would have to fight, literally hunt somebody down in order to retain their grip on power. You would think perhaps that they would spend most of their time training with the weapons that will be assigned to them, or will at least spend a good portion of time training with the weapons assigned to them so that they are more effective killers. And
yeah, you'd think so.
you would think that, wouldn't you? And like that would raise the stakes a little bit from the first movie, where like the first movie, nobody picks that card, so everybody is assigned these weapons and they don't really know how to use them. And we've kind of like gone into how funny that can be. Like, like you can leverage that for comedy. And if you're going to raise the stakes in this one by doing the exact same thing, but with different participants, which I don't think you should do, but you've done it anyway. So let's roll with it, right? Then maybe they should be more effective and you should have to improve your tactics to get away, right? Like she has to it's the same challenge but harder, right? She's gone to, the new game plus playthrough, and now she has to, actually work a little harder to escape. She has to outwit them in some way.
Hugh,
They're just
What if instead we raised the stakes, like the consequences of what happens with who wins or loses, but also made the game easier because we made the villains more incompetent this time?
well, that sounds retarded.
But
So
what if we
let's
did
do
it
it. But
anyway?
yeah,
Yeah,
good. So
let's
let's
do
do
it.
it. Yeah,
For
that's
example,
I bet
Spanish guy with the eyeliner. He is the worst shot I've seen in a movie since maybe like a stormtrooper,
he's
like a
God
like a
funny.
Disney stormtrooper. He's awful.
He,
He's
he
awful.
he has the
Everyone's
craziest
awful, but
advantage over
yeah.
everybody, right? Because like Sarah Michelle Gellar has to essentially use a fucking blunderbuss, right? And her brother gets some kind of, I don't even know what the fuck it is, some like axe pick thing that he has, like a melee weapon. The Indian guy gets a machete because of course, I guess, right? And the
Oh,
Asian woman
this
gets a
is a
samurai sword.
random thing. Samara Weaving is Hugo Weaving's niece, not
Oh,
daughter.
not you.
But
Well,
just
okay.
this is a small little update.
Small
Anyway,
correction.
continue.
Yeah. So like the rest of them get these like melee weapons, and this guy gets a fucking sniper rifle, like a Barrett 50 cal, and he cannot hit any like they make a comment because he misses like 5 shots in a row on like a pair of targets that are just out in the open. Like you
He
if
is legitimate.
he's
Like I have
legitimately
never
god fucking
fired that
awful.
particular type of gun that he's holding. I could do a better job. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. And I'm not even like the
He
best
fucks
shot,
up the
but I could.
reload, like and they
Oh,
make a
he's
joke. They're like,
awful.
"Oh, he never practices." It's like, why would he never practice? Why?
Yeah. Yeah, so this ties into a general problem with the theme of, or just the whole premise of this movie is that in the first movie they are a random rich family that got powerful because they sold board games and they made a deal with the devil to sell board games really well. And that's the only reason that they're that wealthy. They don't really run the world by implication. They have a big mansion and they do rich people stuff. That's really it. In this movie, these are the 5 or 6 families that literally control everything that happens in the world, and they are even more retarded than the first movie. So this is the general problem that you have with a lot of things. It's like the worst of both worlds, right? Where like there's a shadowy cabal of elites that are literally running everything and can control all the levers of power and can end the Israel-Palestine conflict with a phone call if they wanted to, but simply don't. But also they're the stupidest people to ever live. And it's
Yes.
like you can't do both. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You know what actually would be kind of fun for a change is if the shadowy cabal of elites that run the world were actually unbelievably elite.
Yeah, like what if
You
they
know?
actually were scary and
Yeah, what
not
if
just
they
a
were
bunch of
actually
fucking
elite
goofballs?
for
Like,
real?
yeah. And now I will say that one of the funny bits, and I don't know if you felt this way, but like, and maybe this was just because the rest of it sucked so bad, right? But one of the bits that I actually kind of enjoyed from this movie that felt more like it was a rejected concept from the first one was when her dead husband's ex-girlfriend or ex-fiance shows up in a different wedding dress, and like they have a fight, like, two
They have
brides
a cat
yeah, they
fight.
have a cat fight.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty well executed, and like I could see in in
on paper.
theory on
Yeah.
paper where you might fit that into the original movie and have it work, right? Like it may be rejected in some way, but funny enough, for
Well, I
this
think
movie.
one of the besides the unintentional comedy regarding the Indian in the washing machine, for example, one of the few like intentional jokes that I did enjoy for about 5 seconds before they dragged it on too long was when she's fighting with the ex, the the ex-husband's ex-fiance, and they have a pepper spray bottle between them, and they both get pepper sprayed in the face, and then we cut away to a different fight happening, and when we cut back they're both wildly flailing around trying to hit the other, but they're like far away from each other and don't realize it because they can't see. That's a funny little gag.
Yeah.
However, that goes on for like another 5 minutes in a like action set piece that's
Yeah.
entirely too long,
And
and it's
I
like the,
did
the
like
joke
when
wears thin.
the joke was really thin. I did like too, like, because it is the we are doing the like incompetent bad guy thing, and with her, with the ex-fiance, right, it makes sense because she is not like she's not part of this group really, like she's just heartbroken, and now she's out for revenge. Really should probably have been the main villain of this movie, because I think that if you're gonna do a follow-up, that makes the most sense, to tie it all together. Like,
Yeah,
it's also one of the ones that feels like the smaller stakes, right? Like, it's not, oh well, we all have to kill you. We're not like super interested in killing you, but you killed the old family, and now there's like, now we have to, because we have to retain our hold on elite global power. If you had done it where, like, oh, okay, the ex fiance of the dead husband is, she also made a bargain with the devil, and now she's out for blood, for revenge, right? I think you could make that work. Like, I think that is something
for
like that.
sure.
That's a more viable sequel than just running back the first movie but shittier. You know, like, when she shows, and what I'm talking, what I mean by incompetent is like when she shows up dressed in a different wedding dress, and she's got a bazooka, and then she accidentally fires it backwards. Like, that's kind of funny. Yeah, like, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
it's a little basic. It's a little first draft as far
yeah,
as jokes go, but like it's fine. Yeah,
serviceable. We could do
yeah,
better, but if this is all you got, I'm okay with moving on to something else while we think of better options. I
yeah.
but then, so like that character shows up for that one fight scene, right? Like, it fires the bazooka backwards. They have a little cat fight. They pepper spray each other. 5 minutes go by where they're just swinging at nothing, right? And then she knocks her out and just walks away. Because like
Yeah.
the main characters, this is like, have this aversion to killing the people who are trying, like the
Trying
the
to kill
literal
them.
devil worshippers who are trying to kill them. for some reason, right? Like, well, I mean, I guess really the only reason is because the movie them needs them to continue the plot, right? But so she doesn't kill the bride. She just the ex-fiance, she walks away until later in the movie where she just walks up to the ex-fiance and shoots her in the chest with a shotgun and kills her, and she's out of the movie for good. And that's all
Yeah.
she's in the movie for. Right? So like we've set up some level of like a foil, right? A character foil, and then done fuck
Hmm.
all with it,
True.
which is
Yeah.
a shame. It's a shame.
It's like they try to make the foil Sarah Michelle Gellar almost, but
Yeah,
until they
but like it
don't.
doesn't make any sense to make her the foil. It doesn't
No, it
work.
doesn't. No, it certainly doesn't. Okay, so that's the gist of all the players, right? They're all terrible.
Yeah.
None of
Oh,
them are
the
interesting.
Asian woman is trying, like, she had her lawyers look into the bylaws and basically figure out that, like, if there's a loophole that if Samara Weaving agrees to marry one of the players, then the game stops and she becomes like the leader, right? That's
Yeah,
yeah,
yep,
that's basically
that is
that's
what
the
happens
loophole.
in the movie.
That's the loophole is like if she agrees to it, then like the game stops and whoever she marries becomes the head honcho of the council, which that's a really stupid fucking loophole, man. Like of all the things that you could have
Yep.
done with that, right? It's like,
Well, so
oh,
much of
okay.
this is, like, weirdly hinged on marriage. Um,
Yeah.
like, every part of this is weirdly hinged on marriage. This movie has, a particularly kind of gross cynicism about marriage that the first one only did sort of by implication of the premise. It didn't really seem to really be saying anything all that really consequential about marriage itself. It's just like, ah, what if this wacky premise happened? You know, and then we can end the movie with a "huh, in-laws, am I right?" kind of joke. And we don't take it seriously. We all go like, "Ah, that was
Yeah,
fun, I
that
guess."
was
And
fun.
then we
Yeah.
go on with our lives. But this movie is like way more concerned with like driving home a really deep, like resentful, sort of coded like attitude towards marriage itself. And I don't
Yeah.
really care for that for
I'm
obvious
not a
reasons
fan.
because
Yeah.
I'm a normal person. Um, yeah, but like but everything about the rituals in this weird organization, including the first one, but now everything they've added to it in this one, are all like hinged on marriage. Like, oh, the devil really wants you to get married. Like what? Like by implication, like you could prevent all of the bad stuff from happening. No one has to die if you just marry into the evil family.
Yeah, and
Which is weird because like doesn't that kind of contradict the first movie because like she marries into the evil family, but the devil's like, "Ah, but no, you got to play a game and only if you survive do you get to join." You know what I mean? It's almost like a weird trial by fire type thing.
yeah.
If you're thinking about it from the devil's perspective in the first movie. In this movie, it's like, ah, well, because you survived last time, we can't have that. So now they're after you again because I really want to kill you, but if you just marry into the family, then you can solve literally all of this. So it's much more like it's like trying to corrupt her, but we don't really meaningfully explore that.
Yeah. Well, and
We
like you could
play
almost see where a corruption angle might come in the first one, right? Where it's like, okay, well, if you survive until dawn, then you like until right at the end, right? It's like, oh, if you survive until dawn, yeah, then you've earned the right to live and be a part of the family. Essentially, is like kind
if you
of
would
what
even still want
if
that
you
at
would
that
even
point,
want
yeah.
it at that point. And by doing that, then you almost like you get the power and the influence and the money, but you have sort of sold your soul, right? Like that's symbolically what we're looking at in that. Until right at the end, where like actually it turns out that if you survive until the end of it, then which like nobody gets the card, and the devil is pulling the strings. So something in that, like the devil clearly wants you dead, right? Like
Yeah.
the result of that card being pulled is like realizing that the devil wants you dead, and if you survive until dawn, he's going to kill everybody else and just let you go. which just like the first one is confused a little bit in its messaging on that front as well, but it's a
More
little
so
harder.
because it
Yeah,
doesn't really feel like it's trying to have a message. It
yeah,
just a
it's
message
just
just
for
kind of
fun.
emerges from the premise,
Yeah, yeah,
unintentionally. This movie has a very different sort of attitude where
yeah.
it's like literally it will result in eventually she will decide not to the like Asian nerd like guy who's always on his Switch or whatever who's asking
Yes.
about the Wi-Fi passcode. Instead of marrying that guy, eventually she will be worn down
Instead of
enough.
marrying Bobby Lee, she goes
Yeah.
for the guy who almost kicked her sister to death.
Yeah, yeah, in order to prevent her from being killed as a sort of last ditch resort, she will eventually be like, "If I marry you, you don't have to kill me." That's what the Asian lady said. That's it's in the bylaws. And so they do it, and then they have a weird sort of like anti-wedding where they go down into a secret like dungeon place, and there's like another goat pit there because remember the goat pit from the first movie, and Elijah Wood is going to lead a sort of like black magic evil wedding where it's just like a wedding except they're wearing black and they say Hail Satan
Yeah.
instead.
They start saying Hail Satan very early in this, by the way, and so like, and
Yes.
that's something that I think is kind of lame too, because in the first one they called him Mr. LeBeau, or like
LaBelle
LaBelle,
maybe
Mr. LaBeouf,
something like that.
Shia LaBeouf, something
Shia
like, yeah,
LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf, real actual cannibal. Like they call him by like this code name that they have for him, right? And that's better.
Yeah.
Like
No, I
they
agree.
don't legitimately start, but like early in this movie they just start going like Hail Satan, like the fucking woodland critters, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
you've kind of taken a lot of the mystique out of this, like before it was like, oh, it's this mysterious, Mr. LaBelle who you met at the crossroads, right? You don't know where he came from or anything, but like you made a deal with him
Yeah.
and all that. And you can maybe insinuate that it's like, oh, maybe it's the devil, but you don't really know if it's the devil or just a devil or whatever. But in this one, they're just like, no, it's fucking Satan. No, it's Satan,
Well,
all right.
in the
Yeah,
other
like
one, they say "Hail Satan" at the
at
end,
the
but they
end,
wait a long
yeah.
time to do it, which I think maybe
It's
was a little
still a
mistake to
little bit
do
of a
there as
mistake,
well.
yeah. I think
But
they've,
they do,
but
like,
like they
go a
use
lot
it
longer.
interchangeably in this one. They call him Satan and Mr. LaBelle a
Yeah,
bunch, and it's just like, why are you going back and forth? Like you've already the pulled the mask off. Like
yeah.
who you're already very clear about who this is. Like I don't know, it's lame. It's lame. That's the whole
And,
like
like,
reaction to the whole movie is like it's fucking lame. It's a lame version of the first one.
yeah, with some really odd choices that take it in some very strange directions. Right?
Yeah.
Because then the
Okay.
other
So
thing the
like
movie
I was gonna say because like the main like because we're at the wedding, right? The evil anti wedding, and they've earlier the reason that the Asian woman is no longer in this movie is because at the beginning of the game they set up that if any of the competitors kill one another, even by accident, then the whole family that they represent will explode. Right? That's that like
spontaneous busting, yeah.
spontaneous busting. So Samara manages to like make the Asian woman accidentally kill one of her attackers, one of the other family members, the Spaniard. She manages to
Yes.
get him to kill the Spaniard accidentally, which then blows her up and blows up the Bobby Lee son, who's
Yeah.
um
Who did essentially nothing in the whole movie
yeah,
and was entirely a waste of screen time, yeah.
entirely a waste of screen time and was just there as like a way to make fun of screen addicted Zoomers. Ha ha ha! Isn't that funny? Um, but then like late, very very late, like end of the second act, beginning of the third, like right before 15 minutes before the movie's over, we introduce the idea that you can kill members of your own family and nobody cares. So like even though they are competing together and they are both competitors, Titus can kill Sarah Michelle Gellar and not explode for some reason. Because there's no rule against killing your family members. But so there's a rule against killing competitors, and you can't violate that. But if the other competitor is a family member, then you've managed to die. Like, that seems like a
Friendly
stupid,
fire,
like a pretty
except for
stupid,
friendly fire.
except for, well, no, because friendly fire, like the Spanish guy is concerned when he almost blows up the Indian man with the
Yeah,
Barrett,
yeah.
right?
No,
Like,
I absolutely agree. I see what you're
like
saying.
it doesn't make any
It's
fucking
odd.
sense. And like that's we've introduced that concept essentially 15 minutes before the movie ends, and that's the way she's gonna get out of the, like, to solve the problem of the bargain. Like, that's the way she escapes the movie. So we've given the solution 15 minutes before the movie's over, which is kind of lame, right? Like
Yeah.
we didn't set it up at all. Really. We just introduced a weird, like, subclause to kind of make up a reason why the rule we introduced in the first act doesn't apply in the third.
Yeah.
Which
You
fucking,
know,
like,
the
it
other
fucking
thing
sucks. Like,
it does. It does suck. The movie sucks. The other thing that struck me is like kind of by implication what you could read from the first movie, because this is a family that like made a deal with the devil to acquire its wealth and, you know, power and everything to the degree that they have it as just like a random rich family. Anyone who wants to marry into the family has to sort of be tested and sort of like be, you know, like has to pass a sort of like devilish test in order to be allowed into the family, because otherwise they're just getting in on that like wealth without earning it, so to speak. Like you could kind of read something like that into it, but in this it's almost like no, like the whole goal is to convince this woman that actually the easiest way out is just to sell your soul and marry into the evil family, which I feel like is like kind of directly opposite of what the last movie was trying to do, you know?
yeah.
Now it's like it's all about like, oh, whether she'll ultimately, in order to save her sister, in order to save herself, whether she'll just become one of the evil rich billionaires or not. And then ultimately she is like she marries the guy, and then because now she's married, she can do that loophole and kill her new husband. Right. So she
Yeah.
says I do. She like agrees to the devilish pact only to like subvert it immediately after. And now that they're married, and that's a loophole that we've established 15 minutes ago, she kills her new husband, and now she's like, now I am the sole person on top of the throne. And the whole movie's like, oh my gosh, what is she gonna do with this like world changing power? Is she evil now? Is she gonna use that power for good? What is she going to do? And she's like, I'm going to step down. And they're like, "What?
It's just like, and
Bro,
you,
can she
and you're
bro,
gonna
can she
leave,
even
yeah,
do
you're
that?
gonna leave me
What?"
alone, me and my sister. You're gonna leave us alone forever and ever, amen. And they just
And
kind of,
then they're
yeah,
like, "Okay, well, technically, there's nothing. There's a rule for everything, but there's no rule saying you can't step down." So,
and
uh,
there's no rule for what would happen if somebody did, because, oh well, we never anticipated anybody would say no to such power like that. And
okay,
yeah,
you should have, but okay. And so she says she doesn't want it, and then she takes the ring, which is the, you know, the symbol of the seat of power or whatever, and she throws it into the goat pit for them to all like fight for it, and whoever's wearing it at the end of like I think
Dawn,
yeah,
yeah,
dawn is like 3 minutes away according to Elijah Wood's watch. So in 3 minutes, whoever's wearing that rig, so they all have to jump into the goat pit, which you know, there's some sort of symbolism there. That's fine, whatever. But ultimately, her plan is like, instead of destroying it, I'm just going to like step down and leave the chance that maybe one of you evil fuckers does actually retain it, but I'm just out. I'm just like, I don't know, wouldn't you want her to try and like destroy all of this? Not just because she kind of lucks out that she
yeah.
destroys all of those people.
Well,
Because
but yeah,
someone could
except
have
that she
just
keeps
grabbed it.
Elijah, like Elijah Wood stays alive. So, like, really, the cult members are dead, but the cult leader is still there and can
Yeah,
regroup.
his role is confusing because he's like outside of, he's like a referee.
Yeah,
He's not really
it's
in
not
it, but
really
he could
clear.
obviously recreate it. He seems to be all on board with the worshiping of Satan. So like, I don't know. Couldn't he just recruit more families? I don't know why keeping him alive is like a fine thing, but also like she doesn't really deliberately destroy it. She kind of lucks out
Yeah,
that this destroys everyone. So
because
I
they
felt
all
like it
just
was kind of
fight
weak.
over it, and like, again, another big missed opportunity for this movie, and like meta opportunity, right? Because like one of the
But
things that
also, if they kill each other, don't they blow up in this
well, yeah,
final
because
fight?
I don't, I yeah, they should, shouldn't they? But is
They
the game
should.
still? Yeah, the game has to still be going because
Yeah.
the game ended and then a new game began. I guess I don't know.
Who cares?
Also, like it's a ring that literally lets you control everything, and Elijah Wood is standing right there, and we didn't do anything with that. Really? Like, come, what are we doing? Why did you even hire him? Like,
Yeah.
so, and to put it in perspective, right? They did have Sarah Michelle Gellar earlier in a fight with Samara Weaving. Like, she gets on top of her with a nail, like a big railroad spike, and she does the Buffy thing where she raises it and goes to stab her through the heart. Now, she misses by a wide margin, which is also, like, I guess because she's just bad at what she's doing, right? But like they did the Buffy thing with Sarah Michelle Gellar. So they clearly hired her to just because they wanted that one scene because there's not much else she's got going for her in this movie. But we didn't do anything with Elijah Wood and a ring of power.
All
Like,
powerful ring. Yeah.
yeah, like come on, man. Not even like
Okay,
a
because there's a
little
point
wink,
where like
nothing.
everyone's jumping into the pit to try and get the ring, and he doesn't, and we see him not do it, and so
Maybe is that like he doesn't
I
do
mean, but
like
like, but
yeah,
you'd want to put like a slightly finer point on it if you wanted that to be an intentional thing.
yeah.
Anyway, so like ultimately it's a rather weak so her arc in this movie, so to speak, is oh you're thrust into hell again, but this time the stakes are you either get killed by the evil shadowy cabal that runs the world, or if you win, you get to become the head of the shadowy cabal that runs the world. And through really bizarre contrived circumstances, she ends up as the head of the cabal that runs the entire world. And instead of becoming evil and just being generally corrupted over the course of the movie, which could have been interesting in its own way, or instead of like deliberately destroying it all, it's like a no, I don't want to be it, so I'm gonna give it up. I'm gonna let you fight over it, and then it'll just luck out that you all die in the process. Because it could have ended with none of them being killed and one person ending up with the ring, and
Yeah,
like
and like just coming
the
back
game would
after
be
her.
over. The game would be over, but they would still want to kill her.
Well, I guess they can't, right? Because she did use like she did use the power to basically make it so that they have to leave her alone, right? Like
Wait,
that's
did she?
yeah, that's her line essentially. Is she's just like I am stepping down, and you will all leave me and my family and everybody associated with me the
Yeah,
fuck
but is
alone.
that part of their fucking bylaws? Like, why would that be binding?
I, be, the movie treats it like it is.
Yeah,
it,
but
it
it's yeah, and my point is that there's no way it would be.
Well, yes, but
And
there's
so
also
like
no way that like you'd be able to just kill your family member who's competing with like to avoid the no killing other competitors, right? Like there's no way that that would count. So like I don't know, man. It's fucking like this is one of the like I've been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3, which is essentially D&D, but they have a devil character in that game who like has really raised my standards for what a devilish bargain would look like because this guy like he's very clever, very evil, and he does this like he tricks this one guy into going into a stronghold of war. He tricks a big demon into going in. He says you have to kill everybody in this fortress, and then he goes to the last guy left in the fortress and gives him a way to turn himself into a million rats that like with his consciousness spread across a bunch of different rats, and the demon doesn't realize that he also has to kill the rats, and that the rats are now hiding everywhere and it's impossible to do it. So now he's trapped him in this thing, and like he's stuck in this, he's been stuck down here forever because he can't fulfill the bargain, and if he doesn't he has to become a slave. And it's like, see, like this is fun stuff. Like now you're giving me some good devilish bargain stuff with like trickster characters, and you can't like he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. this is so pathetic in
Yeah,
comparison. And you had
it is.
7 years to write this. And it's
Yeah,
like,
if you cared
like,
about it.
yeah,
But they don't care about it.
they don't.
And ultimately, like my point regarding the like, she just kind of walks away. Says, I'm in charge now. You have to leave me alone. You fight over this ring yourselves." And it's like, oh, that's a weak decision because you would think if anything, she would be resolved to destroy everything to do with this, right? But she doesn't do that. And also, I don't think there's any good reason to assume that her saying, "You leave me alone now," works. Like you're in danger if they
If
all
they
don't
all,
die.
yeah.
Yeah. So, um,
But luckily,
stupid.
they do. They all do, except Elijah.
Stupid and morally weak ending for this
Yeah.
character.
Now,
So
there's
that's
only
not
one
fun.
last thing that I think is worth talking about for this, and it's the relationship between Samara Weaving and Cassie, her little sister, who she lied about in the like. We basically hand wave away the fact that in the last movie she said she had no family, because not her parents were dead, but she had a biological little sister who was like 3 years younger than her. But they're estranged, so she doesn't have a sister, right? Um, which is okay. Like that's a little. It's a bit of a comes out of left field kind of thing. It's a bit
It does. You
convenient.
didn't do anything to earn it.
Yeah, but sure. Um, they are estranged and they don't like each other because the younger sister feels that Samara abandoned her. Um, Now, Jamie, why does she feel she abandoned her? All.
Okay, so they were in the foster care system together. They're not actually biologically related, right?
No, I think they are. I'm pretty sure they are
Oh, they are
biological. Yeah.
biologically related. Okay. But they're in the foster care system. She gets to be, Samara Weaving gets to be 18, and so she has to leave whatever foster home that she's in. But she's like, I have to leave, but here's my plan. I'm going to like get a place for us, and we're gonna move in together and all that sort of stuff. But I do have to
I
leave.
have to leave and I'm going
Uh,
to college and I'm going to go
yeah.
and
Oh, right.
go
That's
to a
what it is.
dorm. I'm going to go live in a dorm instead of in like I'm 18, I have to get out, but I have a plan. I'm going to New York to go to school, to get a degree, to get a job so that I can get you out of the foster care system with me. You're only 3 years younger than me, and so I'll be at college, right? But like you know, there's no there's no real reason why you can't come and visit me. There's no real reason why I can't come and visit you, except that like I
Yes.
guess they just say like your foster parents when you're in the foster care system just basically say, "You're 18 now, so no more contact with anybody in our house. Thank you very much. Get out." Um, in this universe is how that works. But um, we we get a moment because there's a big emotional conversation between the two of them where the younger one is like, do you basically saying like you abandoned me, I was all alone, you left, you da, 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 da. And she says, do you remember, Samara Weaving, do you remember what you said to me before you left? I asked you, I said, please don't go, please don't do this. Do you remember what you said to me? And my thought, given the fact that they've been estranged for years and they hate each other, that's their whole thing, right? Is like they really don't like each other. Is that this is going to be something kind of like either she basically says, "Oh, grow up," right? Like get a grip, like I've got to do, get a grip. I'm leaving. Bye. This is all about me. Something like that. She puts herself first as opposed to her family, or it was something like, I'll come back for you, and she never did, right? Um, no. What she said was, I have to do this. There is no other way.
Yeah,
And
which is
that is
just true.
enough, which is just true, but that is enough to estrange them from each other for decades.
Yeah.
Do we think that that works?
No, we don't. No, we don't think that works at all. And yes, we do think that this occupies far too much of the drama of the movie. It's really annoying.
The whole drama of the movie is built on this, right? It's
Yeah,
built on this story,
it's pretty dumb. It
and
doesn't
it's
work.
bad. It's
And
really
it's
bad.
bad.
It doesn't line up at all. I mean, like, you could have given, you're the writer, you can give that more weight. You can do something differently than, like, oh,
Yeah,
she
you
went off to
can.
college to get a degree. You can make your main character who's going, like, we are beating the shit out of Samara Weaving in this movie, right? Like, she's getting
Yeah,
her ass kicked. You can make her like, you can make it that she kind of used to be a bad person, right? Like, you're allowed to
yeah,
do that, because like then you get a little bit of like, she's going through hell, and it's a, you get a little bit of symbolism in that, like, okay, well, you know, your chickens are coming home to roost a little bit here, but you're learning something from it and developing, and you know, you're rekindling your relationship, and by the end, you've both been through through hell, you're both beat to shit, but you've come out stronger together for it, right? It's a
whatever sort
really,
of differences you had have been sort of like overwhelmed by this shared experience. So like by comparison, it's like who cares about that? You know what
yeah,
I mean?
you
And
can
you can
make it
move
so that
forward.
she was not quite so noble, right? You can
Yeah,
make that like a thing, and that she's learning to be more noble through going through this experience. It works. Symbolism happens that way. Isn't it surprising? They don't do that.
no.
They
No,
don't do
it's
that
like
at all.
you like I had to leave to go to college because I literally can't stay in this foster home or foster care place with
Yeah.
you
And I
after I'm
need,
18.
like, how else am I going to support us living on our own
Yes.
if I don't, like, you know, we want to live in New York, right? Well, I'm going to need a job that pays well, and in order to get those, you probably have to have some kind of degree. I don't fucking know, but like, I'm going to have to do it, right? Or
Mhm.
there's nothing in the movie that says either that, like, she couldn't have, like, that she wouldn't have or couldn't have said, like, well, when you turn 18, you can come and move in my apartment in New York. Like,
Yeah.
even if it's like, oh, I'm going to go be a waitress or something like that, there's nothing that says she couldn't have said that.
Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah.
based on the conversations that they have, I don't believe she didn't.
It-
I like,
yeah, exactly. I don't believe she didn't either. It's really contrived. It's not enough. There's not enough there to really make it work or to sell it as like the main because the equivalent character conflict in the first movie is a conflict between her and her husband, who her husband in the first movie is or like he's a bit estranged from his family. You know, he doesn't really want anything to do with their weird like cult that they kind of keep up just because it's tradition. He doesn't want anything to do with that, but he wants to marry her because he loves her. And so when they marry into the family, he's just like really hoping that she'll just draw one of the like I don't know what 51 benign cards or however many there are. And but they
he's
it
hoping
just so
she'll get
happens
Jenga or something, you
yeah,
know, like,
yeah. And then, but instead, she draws the one awful card. What are the odds? Okay, well, now that that's happened, I have to explain this all to you, and I'm going to try and help you get out of it. But ultimately, he is unsuccessful at doing that. And then they kind of give him a turn at the end that doesn't really quite work 100% for me. But you know, whatever. There was an underlying emotional conflict between two characters that was, I suppose, the heart of the movie, and it was
but,
okay.
and it's like, and he's estranged from his family, and she wants to do this because she wants a family, because in the first one she doesn't have a family.
Yes. Yes, exactly. That's actually
Yeah,
what draws
it's a,
her into this. It's kind of really important actually
it's
that she
kind of a
just doesn't
huge
already have
deal.
a sister. Yeah. But in this one, it's like, oh, the main character conflict that we're going to spend far too much time like talking through and saying the same things over and over again is all based on I can't believe you betrayed me by leaving the foster care system because you were 18 because you had to. And I just held that against you and never even bothered to call you.
and
And so
and
we just
you
drifted
all, and
apart.
like, and that's why you lied and said you don't have any family,
It's
because
like,
you're so bitter about the fact, like, because I was so bitter about the fact that you went to college, like, you're like, are generally meant to do.
yeah,
Like, you know,
just
like,
give them like an actual like legitimate conflict that made Samara Weaving like not look very good
yeah,
actually. Like or even if you wanted to make the other sister the one who did something terrible. Either way,
yeah.
just give them something that they would actually have been like estranged over.
Like, I don't
Like
believe that they
legitimately.
didn't talk for 10 years because of this.
No.
I do not believe, like, maybe maybe the younger sister refused to take her calls for a month.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
Like,
over,
if
oh,
if
like yeah,
if they're especially dramatic, yeah,
yeah.
that's about it.
Like, and she didn't.
It's
Yeah,
like,
that
she literally when she said, I have to go, I have no other choice," that was just literally true.
yeah. Is this the live action Lilo and Stitch?
A little bit like
A
that,
little bit, yeah,
honestly.
kind of. Yes, it is pretty much. I mean, like it is postulating the exact same thing. And I mean, that's really it for the movie. Like that's all it's got going for it. By the end, the sisters are reconciled because Samara has destroyed the cult through sheer blind dumb luck, and got a little nod from the devil again. Like, it was basically just like it's the exact same CGI as the first one, and it doesn't feel like they did anything interesting with it. He
Well,
shows up to do
there's
the
this whole big setup right at the beginning of the wedding when Elijah Wood is like talking about how we're gathered here before Satan. They list off like 7 of his names or whatever, and they're phrasing it and acting like some big like door is going to open up or something, and we're going to see Satan himself. That's sort of everything in the scene is like communicating that to me. Like, oh, you're gonna get to see. I'm like,
and it's
okay,
just Ray
maybe that will be
Fiennes, and
cool.
he's doing his like his
Bone
Iron
Temple
Maiden.
thing.
He's doing his Iron Maiden lip sync battle.
Like at the very least, like at the end of this stupid movie, maybe we'll get like a cool design of like a demonic devil thing. Like maybe that would be like something, you know? It's just something of redeeming value at the end of the movie would be great. But they don't do that. He just like they talk about him like he's gonna show up, but then he doesn't show up. And then right at the very end, he just flickers in a chair just like the first movie, and that's it. And then these two, oh, these badass feminist girl boss sisters, they've reunited, and it's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it. And then they take a goat that was going to be sacrificed with them. Okay,
Yeah,
and then they leave, and they but like okay, the flippant sort of fun like man, I can't believe all this crazy shit has happened to us kind of attitude works for the first movie because she finds out that the devil and all the supernatural magic stuff is real, and then the movie ends. But then you have a whole movie where this should obviously have affected the character and her attitude towards things, but it doesn't really. And then you end the same way where it's like, oh man, what a day, am I right? It's like, no, you just you you should be changed. You should be transformed a bit more by what has happened to you over the course of this movie than like, oh man, what a wacky wild ride that was. I'm so glad that we're good friends again. What are you gonna do with this goat? Ugh, I don't even know. LOL. The end. That's how the movie ends. It's not an exaggeration. They're just like, oh boy, what a crazy one. Am I right, audience watching at home? Wow. Thanks for watching. Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. We couldn't decide on whether we were going to do Ready or Not 2 or Ready or Not, Here I Come. So we did both. And I think that's kind of emblematic of the movie as a whole, in a way. So, you know, um, except for some unintentional comedy, pretty irredeemable garbage. This movie, it's not good at all. It's way stupider. It's full of baffling decisions that make everything worse. It's kind of inexplicable that they waited 7 years to make a sequel to a movie that was so successful when it first came out. And it's not really surprising, but it is remarkable how much worse they managed to make this one. That it is sort of par for the course these days, where it's like, ah, what if we made another one, but worse in every way? And so it's, fully in line with that. They brought in some character actors that I thought, oh, this will make the movie kind of fun because I like them, but then none of them really seemed to care or did anything particularly interesting. I'm especially disappointed by the Spanish guy, the guy who looks like he's wearing eyeliner, because I genuinely like him
yeah.
in a lot of things, and
There's a lot
he
of
is
people that
only there to be the worst shot I've ever seen in a movie. So, um, worthless.
yeah. There's a lot. Did we mention her pulling back on her viscera stained bridesmaid's dress.
No, no, we didn't. We skipped over that, but
Yeah,
yeah, go
so
ahead.
that was one of the things that I also kind of made me want to talk about this movie is like, and the first one has a few of these scenes, right? But they give it that action hero, you know, that action hero vibe of like, oh, this is a suit up scene. She's ripping her wedding dress that's stained with gore and guts and blood, and she's pulling on her Converse sneakers, and she's suiting up for battle, right? And there's a little bit of like like a sarcastic font iconic sort of attempt at creating something like that there. But
Yeah.
in the first one, like, and because of how what the kind of movie the first one is, it it almost works a little bit,
Almost.
like
It's a
almost.
little try hard, but, they're trying to be like, "Ah, isn't this cool and punk?" I mean,
Yeah.
it's practical that, like, her giant flowy wedding dress, not great for running around trying to avoid being killed, so she, like, tears part of it off so it's, not as cumbersome about the ankles, and there's a logic to that, and I think at one point, her husband, who's trying to help her, gets her better shoes than the heels she's wearing. I mean, barefoot probably would have just made a bit more sense, but she's got her Chucks on, and so it's like, she's got a shotgun and ammunition and the sort of slightly torn short wedding dress and yellow Chucks. And it's like, that's, it's like, oh, isn't this punk rock? And it's like, yeah, it's
It's a
not bad.
poster shot. That's your poster
Yeah, it's a
shot.
poster shot. It's maybe a little try hard, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Uh,
In this
in
one,
this movie, what do they do, Hugh? Wait, before you say it, I just want to acknowledge Jay Jameson, who says, did they also combo this by making it worse with spending more money? Oh, they
oh,
certainly
they
did.
certainly did, and we will talk
More
about
than
that.
twice as much.
Yes, more than twice as much. We will talk about that in just a second. However, in this one, the suit up shot is it like she's taken to the hospital after the first movie, and then the Irishman from Sons of Anarchy with the funny face that I think has been cut by so like not by his choice, but he comes in to kill her and he explodes, and that lets them know that the game is still on, and so she tells her sister, well, I can't fight in these scrubs after she's been freed from her, wheelchair and the handcuffs. Or no, the handcuffs are later. She says, I can't fight in these scrubs. I need my super suit. And so she pulls the viscera stained dark crimson wedding dress out of the evidence bag and straps it back on. And aren't we so glad that the superhero has her cape again?
It's really lame.
It's really lame,
It's
man.
really
Like,
lame.
and
It's
that's the
like,
justification for her being in that dress for the rest of the movie.
yeah, well, it's like they're like, oh, but that's her look. Like it doesn't need to be, but okay.
Yeah. So Emperor Goodwin, I think he plays an Irishman in Sons of Anarchy, but I know the actor is Scottish. Yeah, and he does have the Glasgow smile. Yeah, which a very
Imagine the smell. Yeah,
imagine the
exactly.
smell.
That's
You haven't
that's
thought of
part
the
of the
smell, you bitch.
you bitch. Of course not. Don't be ridiculous. Um, and also like imagine how like crusty that thing would be by
Oh
now.
God, yeah, and like they treat it as if it's just like, oh, it just dyed the fabric.
Yeah, that is exactly how they treat it. And also, here's the other problem. Like, okay, she hasn't been in the hospital for that long. It's been like less than 24 hours, right? It's like,
Yes.
and so she has a hole through her hand, and I think she gets stabbed in the shoulder in the first movie as well, and like scratched along the back, like gnarly wounds. And like, okay, so as you'll remember in the first movie, she gets shot through the hand and then pushed and falls backwards into a giant, like ridiculous goat pit where they just throw dead goats and also the dead maids who the cokehead accidentally kills. Um, and so she like falls into that and has to like crawl her way out, and then she has to like use the hole in her hand as like the only way of
Yes.
like it like goes through a nail to like hold herself up. It's gnarly and it's kind of fun in that sort of way if you're into that sort of thing. But also it's like, yeah, that wound is infected. Like you've made it to the end of the story and you're going to be rescued by EMTs, but like
Well, yeah, if the
you have
movie
like severe
ends,
medical
yeah,
consequences
if the
going
movie
forward.
ends at In-Laws, where the first one ended, it's not a problem, right? Because we're like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, and
exactly.
like your imagination can fill it. It's like, okay, yeah, she went through shit and she got, she is like borderline septic probably by the time
Yeah.
this Like there's a lot more starting it immediately after the last movie was a yet another unforced error. Like a huge unforced error on this
Yeah.
part.
I'm thinking about it. I'm like trying to imagine, like, okay, let's say you have to, gun to your head, you have to make a sequel to Ready or Not 2019, and it has to follow the same character. So no like anthology thing with a different sort of scenario, different family, whatever. You have to have Samara Weaving's character, and you have to do a similar enough type of movie that people will recognize it as a sequel. Like, what do you do? Right? And so, like, my very, very first thought, it's like, well, first of all, this is a tough ask, I want to say, because the story's basically over. But okay, so obviously the movie starts Ready or Not 2. We didn't really mention this, but there is briefly, very briefly, a police officer, detective, I should say, police detective, who was like, "You're in a lot of trouble because this looks really bad for you." Because that makes sense. Everything
Yeah.
about that makes sense. It's the same. It's the same logic as like the end of Get Out. It's like, yeah, this does look very bad for you, actually. I believe that you'd get off eventually, but in this case, since it's more supernatural, it's like, oh, how do you get out of this one? And I'm like, the only thing I can think of, it's still a little ridiculous, but more in the kind of ridiculous of the first movie, is like, oh, if a detective like here's what happens to her and is like, oh, this has been something that we've like heard about and investigating with like other families, like we could use your help sort of thing. you know?
Yeah.
Like there's something you could do there
You
where
could maybe
and
do that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
but
wouldn't.
either
Yeah.
way, you don't want it to pick up literally 5 minutes after the previous film because, like,
I mean, if I was gonna do something like that, I
should
would,
be in,
I would like we're doing Ready or Not to. We're calling it Ready or Not. Here I come. Right.
yeah, we're dropping the two.
We're
It's
dropping the
cleaner. Yeah.
two. Much cleaner. Ready or Not. Ready or Not. Here I come. I'm probably utilizing the ex fiance more. I'm making her the villain, right? Like,
Okay.
and now it's like a Predator movie, where or Fast X, where she's playing the role of Jason Momoa to Samara Weaving's Dominic Toretto, right? Like she's coming after her because she's mad that her ex fiance is dead, that his whole family is dead, and that the power from the devil that she could have had is gone, right? But I'm cutting all the rest of this shit out, right? Like
Oh, sure. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, Sarah Michelle Gellar, you're not in the movie.
No,
Like
be gone.
you're gone.
Emperor Goodwin says, "Go over the top and make her hunter of Satan's rich people." Yeah, that's kind of what I was
You
thinking.
could do
It's
something
like,
like that too. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, she's young punk rock Van Helsing now.
yeah. Something more
Like,
like that.
I don't know. Like,
There's a few
I
ways
mean,
that you could go that I could see
yeah, I
being
like the
making it
idea
viable.
personally. If you
This
have
is
to
not it.
see that this is part of the problem that a lot of sequels fall into, right? Where it's like they want two things, and often I feel like you'd be better served by only choosing one or the other. And the two things you want is you want to follow the same character as the previous movie, and you want to have it be a very similar type of movie. Right? Which is why a lot of the better sequels do kind of change the type of movie a little bit. Yeah, Aliens comes to mind as one of the better examples, right? Obviously, it's still a horror. The setting is still roughly the same, but like it's a bit more action oriented now, right? Um, and that serves the movie well. But for a movie like this, they clear like we're going to follow the same character, and it's going to be the exact same type of movie, and I don't envy them trying to come up with a way to contrive her getting into the exact same type of most dangerous game
Yeah.
situation again, but it's like you don't have to do that.
No.
You could tell a different story with her as a result of everything that happened in the first movie, or if you want to do an exact same type of movie, just do different characters.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, like if you get so like if it's got to be similar, then I feel like you do the one where the ex fiance is the main villain and she's hunting her. Yeah, like she is hunting her, but she's competent. where the rest of them weren't, right? Like that just fall yeah.
She was too evil for her, even for her ex-fiance.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, do something like that. Give me something like that. And then if you want to keep the like I have a secret sister that I haven't talked about, like yeah, sure, maybe we can have that in there. Like,
you could maybe do that, but
Obi-Wan
you have
never told me you had he was so wise to hide your sister from me. Like maybe we can make that work, right? If you absolutely
yeah.
have to include Cassie from Quantumania. But like,
I am definitely in
come on,
agreement
man.
with Emperor Goodwin here, who says that now that she knows about the supernatural and Satan's pacts, you really need to lean into that.
Yes.
And
Yes,
that's
you
an
do.
opportunity to get really fun and over the top with it, which is what was really the main appeal of the first movie anyway, is how, like, cartoony it was. Like, for example, like, when she's, like it's very early on in the game in the first movie, and she's, like, going around a corner, she's, like, trying to evade them, and then she rounds a corner, and there's, like, 3 of them moving a dead body, and they're like, "Oh, there she is." Like, like,
Yeah.
it's kinda like goofy cartoon logic and sort of stuff like that, and because we ended the first movie with, like, this pact is real, see? And it's like, boom, they all explode, like big party balloons full of blood. It's like, okay, we've crossed a line now into like supernatural wackiness. It's all real. You know what I mean? So like, and what I would definitely want to do in a movie like this, because this is a pet peeve of mine, I've talked about it on the channel before, is that like movies where like, the devil is real, but no one ever concludes, well, like, does that mean that God is real as well?
Angels
Like,
and yeah, if demons and the devil are real and have influence, maybe God and
yeah.
angels do as well. I mean, like
Mhm.
the best
And
that
she
we
can
get.
still be like a sort of like, I don't know, like almost Harrison Ford in Star Wars like figure where he's like a little bit like, I don't know about all that, but I'm, like kind of reluctantly good, maybe a little bit more morally gray kind of thing, with her, where like she doesn't have to go like full, like, crusader necessarily. She
I
can
kind of
be,
like the idea of doing that though, honestly.
well, I mean, that's fun, but
That's
like she
fun.
could also team up with people who are more on a crusade against the Satanists that are running our world or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, and like they make a hint at the idea that she is like her because her name is Grace and then her sister's name is Faith, and they have an off like an offhanded joke about like one of the Titus goes fucking Catholics, right? Because like and it's just like, well, yeah, why don't we get like a priest in here or something like that? Like a priest, why don't we get a priest in here to come track her down and be like, oh yes, I've been fighting demon like give me like preacher priest, the guy
Yeah.
like a holy man who fights demons with a crossbow or something like that. Like give me Van Helsing but who has like some
Well, then
belief.
if you
Like
did
that'd be
something like that,
amazing.
then you'd have a much better justification for trying to bring Sarah Michelle Gellar if you wanted to give her better
Yeah.
material. Yeah.
Yeah, we just make it make it a Buffy tie-in. Have
Buffy
Giles.
the Rich People Slayer. There you go. That's it. That's your movie. You lean into the like, the elites are a bunch of devil worshippers, and now she's got to go fight them, and she knows their ways now, and this goes even deeper. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna go with the cartoon logic, you gotta go full into it. You know what I mean?
I do wish that we would get a little bit more of like because Emperor Goodwin just said posted like the power of Christ and my fists compel you, but like and I honestly do wish that we had a little bit more stomach for like preachers like Shepherd Book Firefly, right?
Yeah.
Who's like basically just like the Bible's a little less clear on kneecapping, like it's a little less clear about that. So it's just like, yeah, let's get some of that in here. Like, the power of these hands compels you, and like he like yeah, the right. I don't know, man. Like, give me a little bit, have some more fun with it. Like let's have some fun with the other side too. Is all I'm saying. Get Jesus in here. Passion of the Christ 2, crucify this kind of stuff. Get me more of
Yeah.
that.
Or alternatively, I think one might even say ideally, you just don't make a sequel to Ready or Not at all.
Well, ideally, yeah, you would just write
Yes, I
something.
just
I like you would write
just
something
to kind
new.
of bring it
Now,
full circle. I just think that's probably worth
that's
mentioning as
probably the
well.
best option, really, because like so what they ended up getting for this. So the first movie, we talked about this already. $3 million, $6 million budget, pretty much made 60 million, right? 57.6, in returns. Pretty good haul. Once you factor out like the 50% for the theaters, it's still 5 times the budget, right? Um, what this movie cost $14 million production, and that probably, like, I don't know if they marketed it all that much.
I mean, I've seen a decent. I heard about it. Obviously, I saw trailers and stuff. I don't know how widespread they went with it, but like, yeah, no, I think they've done a fair bit of marketing for this. Honestly, I think every time I go to IMDb to like look up something that's like plastered on it. I remember I was in a theater doing some like marketing research stuff for a gig, and the theater had like they're like kind of going all the way around the walls like LED screens, and they were showing a lot of ads for Ready or Not too. So they were definitely plastering it in a lot of places.
Which is weird, right? Okay, so like this is again, I would never have guessed that. Like, I knew the first one was kind of a cult thing, people, something like people found it. It was one of those little movies that played for 2 weeks at AMC, and people found it and liked it, right? They were like, "Oh yeah, this is not bad. Not a bad little movie."
Yeah.
Right? But I had no idea that it, like, I mean, it was way more successful than I expected that it would have been, right? But I had no clue that this was something that a studio was like ready to tap for a sequel, right? And not just for a sequel, but like more than double the budget. They gave this, they were like, "Oh, the last one did pretty well. Let's make this one for $14 million instead of 6." And the results have not been kind so far. I mean, it's only been out for a couple of weeks, but it's only made 23 million. And I don't think it's getting the kind of word of mouth that the last one did. The last one really thrived after like the first couple of weekends. Like it really the word of mouth spread for that one well. This one I very sincerely doubt that it is as big of a success.
No, I don't. It isn't, and it won't be. I don't think
Yeah.
because, like, because everything sucks now. This has like a 7 on IMDb kind of thing. It absolutely does not deserve
No.
it.
This is
It,
like
but
a 2 at best.
like a 3 or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bad. But yeah, no, I've not heard anyone else even talk about it other than us. Frankly,
I don't think it's on
I don't
anybody's
think.
radar really. Like nobody's no like
I think it'll be forgettable. Even the people who say like, "Oh yeah, it was fun," maybe not as good as the first movie. Like it's gone from their minds
yeah.
already. You know what I mean? It's just not that kind of movie that's gonna stand any real test of time. And so I don't expect it to have good word of mouth. I don't expect it to make its money back really.
No. I think this one was a catastrophic failure for them. I don't think this is going to encourage them to try this again. And
I just saw a headline that says that the second week drop off is twice as big as the first movie's was.
so like, yeah, like what, almost 70%.
What does it say? Give me the numbers.
The first movie, I think it had a drop off of like 26% total from week.
Yeah, which is
Pretty fucking
good, which
good,
means it
honestly.
had some legs. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's not going to do very well for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, and it shouldn't. It's not a good
It
movie.
shouldn't. And I think like the thing that just surprised me the most is that like I would never have considered this to be an iconic sort of, like something that had that kind of pull. Like I don't know why you would look at the first one and go like, yeah, just do that again, make another one of those. It's like I
Well, I
understand
can
that it was
understand it in the
successful.
immediate aftermath of its success. You know,
Yeah, I guess
doing
so.
it next year or the
Seven
year
years
after that.
later is a little bit
7 years.
long to wait.
It true, and also, but like we're just in an era now where they're like, what do we have?
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
I mean, where it's only been 15 years and they're already doing Harry Potter again. I mean, obviously Harry Potter is
Oh,
huge,
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
but like it's only been 15 years since the last one ended. They did a live action Moana movie.
Yeah, like
God, how many years after the first one?
there yeah, when
I'm gonna
was
look it up right now
Moana?
because I know it's crazy. So 2016
Oh
is
my God.
when the first movie came out,
So
and
10
then
years. It's been 10
10
years.
years. That's got to be a record as far as I'm
For
concerned.
basically acting like Moana is the equivalent of fucking line. by
Yeah.
doing, yeah. Although I have a feeling that the Rock's in getting that to the
Oh, I'm sure it did. I'm
yeah.
sure it did. But yeah, so that's just also the era we're in where they're like, shit, what do we have? We talked about doing a Ready or Not sequel when it first came out and it was doing well, but then we went on to do Scream 8 and 12 or whatever, and it's like, oh, what do we have? I guess we can go back to that now. Oh, maybe we can get Buffy in it. So it's like,
Yeah, I liked
I
Buffy.
don't know.
I
It just feels like I don't know, what do we even do? I guess we do this, and here we are, and it's not good, and it has none of the real limited charm that the first movie had at all. So it's like, oh, great, cool. But you see, so sometimes I see people say things like, "Oh man, we finally hit the bottom of the barrel." I saw people were saying that about the Stephen Colbert penned Lord of the Rings thing, and I'm just like, I hate to be that guy, no matter how awful that does sound, and I agree. I hate to be that guy, but we are never anywhere close to the bottom of the barrel. You have no idea how much worse this could get.
they can keep like the bar.
There are so many more things that we could
Yeah,
absolutely destroy. So many things that you wouldn't have even thought about. We have not exhausted the intellectual properties yet. We can go so much deeper. Hell is a bottomless pit. All right, we're not even close. So,
yeah.
like,
Stephen
if you're
Colbert's Tom Bombadil movie. Oh boy.
yeah, if you think what will ultimately turn things around is finally reaching rock bottom, that's not how this works. Like we can't wait for it to hit rock bottom before it gets better. There's just because there
There
is no
is no
bottom.
bottom.
There is no
There is
bottom.
no bottom. It
It can
will keep
always
going.
get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't sit around waiting for that. The people are not going to suddenly wake up. Now I mean, to end on a more optimistic note, though, like I do see, like it is refreshing and rejuvenating, I would say, to see so many people like criticizing the awful lighting and color correcting in the new Harry Potter show. And it's like, because that's nice, because it's a personal soapbox issue of mine, because I hate the way so many modern movies look that I'm like, yes, the people are waking up, which is a good thing. But that doesn't mean that the people giving us our entertainment and making all these decisions are anywhere close to exhausting the depths of ugliness and depravity that they could descend to if
Yeah.
we let them. So
It's gonna get rough.
yeah, it looks really bad.
Yeah.
It looks really bad.
The only
But
thing that I even had any hope whatsoever in, I was like, oh well, I like Nick Frost. Like him as Hagrid might not be bad. And then we get into like him reading lines, and he's just talking like Nick Frost. He's not giving a grumble. He's not doing anything. It's it's so lame. Like I feel
yeah,
like Robbie Coltrane has like the perfect Hagrid voice in the original. They're like, "Dry up, Dursley, you great prune." He gives him like that gruff kind of like
yeah,
country bumpkin kind of thing. Then you get Nick Frost on the train. He's like, "Harry, your parents were nice, and they were just great people.
they're
And
the
I could,
perfect people.
they were such perfect people. I loved them, and you're gonna be a great wizard too." But that's not, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
why did you do this?
Really quick, shout out Trayvon Washington with a great joke in chat. Oh, is that what they're calling it now? Color correcting? They used to call it race swapping. It's pretty funny. It's a good joke. I like it.
That's good.
Good stuff.
You can
Yeah,
have piss
no,
filter
so
or blue filter, and that's what Harry Potter went. And
everything's so underlit,
it's so funny that like
underexposed.
you sent me that tweet about like it's very ironic that Hollywood is so concerned with putting black people on the screen, and they underlight and oversaturate the scenes so hard that like you can't see them.
Desaturated.
Like
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Like they that's the joke I made on Twitter is that, they want to show more black people on screen, but they're making it harder to actually see them. Yeah, it's pretty ironic, actually. It is kind of funny that black people are like the most ill-served by modern lighting trends. I just think there's something kind of funny and ironic about that. But yeah, and Black Snape and all the hilarious things that will inevitably result from that. Even that, not enough to make me want to dare watching that show. It looks terrible.
no, it's funnier to just reread the books, imagining. back. That's really where all the joy.
Yeah, yeah. And even, even the transsexuals, they're trying to reverse psychologize me into watching them just to spite them, but I'm not going to do it. I'm like,
I
no,
like
you can't.
I
It's
did
not going to work on me.
message this, but I want to share it with the chat as well. So I was rereading Prisoner of Azkaban the other day, and there's a point where Snape is teaching class, and Ron gives him some lip, right? And so Ron gets detention and has to stay after a little to find out what it's going to be. And Harry and Hermione are waiting for him in the hallway. Ron comes out of the classroom, and the quote from the book, the exact quote is, "Do you know what that parentheses he called Snape a word that made Hermione go, Ron, close parentheses, is making me do?" it's just
Uh,
it's just too
it's the
good.
gift that keeps on
It
giving.
just keeps on giving. It's amazing. What a
Yeah.
stupid choice.
Oh, brother. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. And so yeah, even ironically, I don't think I'm gonna entertain even watching a
Harry's
second of
running
that.
around telling anybody who'll listen that Snape is just like, I don't know what it is, but I think that guy's gonna steal something. I just get a feeling. I think he's trying to steal things. And then Ron's slapping on a Burger King crown in the hallway just casually. It's it's so fucking good. It's breathed new life into these. So you know what?
Yeah.
Unintentional gold. Uh, yeah, I will not
Anyway,
be watching the show.
no, definitely not. Well, anyway, Ready or Not 2. I can't believe we made it through the whole stream without the construction happening
You
in
know
your
what?
house, completely derailing it.
God
It sent
works.
us wobbling a little bit.
Saint Dominic Toretto works in mysterious ways. He heard my cries and he drove a car through the construction man. I am grateful to him and to
We made it.
Aaron
It was
with.
only a little bit annoying for a little while, and then we
Yes,
made it through. We
I
pushed
will. I
through,
will
and that's
check
what
the
matters.
schedule next time.
We made it through the other side. We talked about a bad movie on the internet, and we didn't all die. Isn't that amazing? Anyway, Ready or Not 2, it's really bad, but we did make the mistake of watching it, and so this is our way of making it not a complete waste of time.
Yes.
Just by talking about it with you, fine people in the chat. I hope you enjoyed it. There's not really
Yeah,
much else
I
to
guess
say
like
about it.
the main takeaway is that before this movie, I was rather excited for Sarah Michelle Gellar's screen, and now I realize the error.
Yeah, and like going into this, I thought, why would you make one of the main families that runs the world Indian? And then after watching the movie, I'm like, never mind, that's a hilarious
That's
choice.
hilarious. You did the right
Please,
thing.
you did the right thing. I'm
Please
proud of
do
you
more
guys.
of this.
Yeah. Make your Eat the Rich People movies even more diverse in the future, please. Please do it. I think that would be very funny. So yeah, that's about it for Ready or Not
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, not much else to say.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
And
This is wait. I forgot about this. Yeah, Travion Washington. The best one I've heard is that Neville is literally scared of a black man in the closet during the Bogart scene.
many
I
such
forgot
cases.
about that. Oh, it's so funny. Oh.
Well, that's it.
Well,
That's all I got.
that's all I got for you. Have a good one, everybody. Enjoy
Goodbye.
the rest of Goodbye.
Wait. Do we know what we're doing next Sunday yet? Well, next Sunday's Easter.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. We'll see.
Okay, well, we may be back here next Sunday, but we may not be because of Easter plans. So we'll keep you posted on that and try to give to the person in chat who was like, "This is usually my nap time." Ooh, we'll try to give you as much warning as possible next time, so you can get your napsies in. All right, goodbye, friends. Be good.